It's Locked On Giants Live. Traina, Tainah, and the dog coming your way next to get you ready for this weekend's Giants-Washington game. Stick around.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Giants Live is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the games start. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Giants Live. You got Traina, Tainah, and the dog.
I'm clapping it up for your intro. That was that was a 10.
All
that
right.
was a 10. I heard it before we went live. That you gotta mimic that every time you do it. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Not bad for somebody who's been kind of dragging all week, right? Anyway, welcome everybody to Locked On Giants Live. I'm Patricia Traina, joined by the one and only Bad Dog, the one and only Tainah, and we're gonna talk Giants football. What else? We got loads to talk about. Big game this weekend, guys.
Yes, we do.
And I don't know how you're feeling about this game. And I know what Papa Guzzo's going to say. He's going to be like, you're always nervous about these games, Pat. Well, I'm nervous about
How
this
could you
game.
not be?
Yeah. I'm nervous, guys. I don't know about you.
Me too. I tweeted that out. This is the first time in years I've been nervous about a game because we haven't played meaningful games after Thanksgiving in years. So this is huge. Absolutely huge division game. Mm-hmm. It's like me when I was growing up in the 80s. You know, Washington, Giants. They were the teams that ran the NFC East. Not that we're running the NFC East now, but there were always big games between these two teams that meant a lot. So I'm nervous. I'll tell you one thing I would love, though, because I think the way it sits right now, every team in this division would be in the playoffs. I would love that scenario. I would love that.
And it's the only I actually did the math pad, though. The way that could happen, every team has to win 9 games, meaning that the Giants and Washington would have to win 2 more, and the Seahawks would have to finish 2-4. And I looked at Seattle's schedule, and it's possible. They play the Niners. They play a couple of challenging teams, so we'll see. But to me, I was thinking about this. I said it earlier this week, guys, that I thought this was the biggest game the New York Giants have had since 2016. Yeah. The playoff game, obviously, against the Packers. I actually can make an argument that this is the biggest game we've had since our last Super Bowl because there is so much, in my opinion, weighing on this game outside of just making the playoffs. The future of this franchise could potentially, or how they build this franchise going forward, this game could go a long way towards that. This is a huge game for Saquon Barkley. This is a huge game for Daniel Jones. You can make an argument this is bigger than the playoff Packer game in 2016.
It is. And, you mentioned the playoff aspect of it. Just to talk about that, you've got the head-to-head tiebreaker, which is the first tiebreaker. Right now, Washington is nipping at the heels of the Giants. I think the Giants are the 6th seed. Washington, I believe, is the 7th seed, but you got the Seahawks, barking at their heels, like I said. So the Giants can't afford to drop this one. No. Worst case scenario now, if they do drop this one, then that means in 2 weeks, they got to go down to Washington and beat them. Otherwise, forget it. If they get swept, I could see the playoff hopes evaporating because, you've got tiebreakers now. And I think also if they lose the next 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, I think that puts them into 4th place in the division. That's scary. And right now you look at this Washington team, very similar to the Giants in a lot of ways. Good running game, the quarterback situations, you can win with the guy, the problems on maybe they've got a little better defense, their run defense, their defensive front, but this is going to be a tough one, I think, to call. And I'm very curious to see, especially in the running game, the Giants run offense versus their run defense, and then vice versa, because that's where I think the game is going to be won or lost.
Yeah, this game is huge because we haven't won a game in the division yet. We're 0-2. And obviously, we have 4 more games within the division. You don't want to go 0-3 in the division. You do not want to go there. And I would like to see more split back sets. I would like to see the Giants get a little bit more creative. with the running game. Obviously, Washington's geared up for that. One thing Washington does have, because I did a video on this, and we are very similar. Both teams win very ugly. Both teams want to run the ball. Because, you're not going to have Heineke and Daniel Jones are not going to go out there with an aerial assault. That's not the way these two teams are built. But Washington has a Terry McLaurin. We don't have that guy. We don't have a Terry McLaurin on this team. So, and they have two running backs that they utilize, and Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson.
Who can do different things.
Yeah, both of them can run really hard. They're both pretty good in the receiving game. Obviously, Gibson's more of a receiver, but that could pose a little bit of a problem for the Giants. So, very interesting matchup. And like I said, both of these teams want to establish a line of scrimmage. Both of these teams want to win time of possession. Both of these teams want to run the ball. Both of these teams want to win ugly. It's going to come down to whoever can do those things and whoever wins the turnover battle. I do think that Heineke is a little bit more, has a more propensity to turn it over than Daniel Jones. I feel like Jones has been more careful. I've seen Heineke make a couple bad throws. And you're like, oh, and he's on my fantasy team. So I know, I'm like, what the hell is going on there? That throw against Atlanta down the middle. Like, what are you doing there? But I don't know. I'm nervous. I can't sit here and go, oh yeah, we're going to run over Washington.
Maybe at the start of the year, you could have said that, but not where we're at now.
Washington's hot right now too.
No. And to your point about receivers, Darius Slayton popped up on the injury report today. Now, they didn't practice today. They had the day off.
Yeah.
But he caught that bug, that stomach flu that's going around the locker room.
And we saw how that impacted Andrew
And
Thomas.
that impact, bingo.
And
so,
I saw
Graham
that today
Gano
too.
the week before, so that stomach bug that's been floating around now for 2-3 weeks, that's impacted a few guys. I don't think a lot of people talk about that. And, it's not an excuse, but look, when we don't feel well, who amongst us is at the top of our game?
Especially when you're playing in football, NFL football, where it's an extremely physical,
and when you have to keep running back for
game.
IVs and going to the bathroom and stuff. No way. I mean, that was a big problem. So we'll see. Darius Slayton should be okay to play, but how, is he going to be weakened by this bug that's been going around?
That's something I worry about. I saw it on the injury report today when it came out, and I'm like, who the hell is going to play wide receiver if he can't go? I'm sure he'll go.
You can run, right? You good?
Not me.
I'm sure he'll go. I'm sure he'll play, but is he going to be limited at all because of it, right? Because we saw how Andrew Thomas played last week, and this is such a big game. And to me, if they lose this game, the playoffs are over. Like,
I think you're right.
If you're looking at it realistically, our best path to the playoffs is sweeping Washington. It just is. 9 wins, we get in. We lose the rest of our games, we're getting in if we sweep Washington. That's what it looks like. If you split with Washington, you still got to win 2 other games. Meaning you got to go 2-2 between the 2 Eagles games, the Colt game, and the Viking game. That's going to be a tall order. It could happen, but it's much easier to get in if you sweep Washington. And we have to at least split with Washington. And if you ask me going into this game, this is about, I would say, 10 to 20 times easier to win this game than the second game. Because this game, Washington hasn't hit their bye yet. They've now played 11, 12 straight games without a bye. We've had 4 extra days to prepare for this game. We're getting reinforcements back.
Yes.
The second time around, we go on the road. Washington comes off the bye. They've played nobody but us, so they've had 2 extra weeks to prepare to play us as we go up against Philadelphia and get our asses handed to us. So to me, this game is if we lose this game, I'm gonna remain somewhat hopeful and hope we could turn it around. But in my mind, playoffs are over.
Why are we going to get our asses handed to us by?
No, I mean it's going to be a wrong choice of words. It's going to be a physical game.
Oh, definitely be a physical game. We can run the ball on those guys.
Yeah, we could. You never know. You never know. But it's going to be a physical game.
We can run it on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Giants. Speaking of the running game, let's talk about the running game and how it's come crashing down to earth. And the problems that I see, and you guys tell me if you agree or not. At first I thought, okay, maybe Saquon's just been overworked. Maybe there's something to it. But the thing that I see is they're not winning the battles in the second level. That's where the offensive line is getting kind of beaten. Now the reinforcements that are coming back, Bellinger should be back this week. Evan Neal should be back. Left guard, I'm not sure if it's going to be Gates. I think it's going to be Gates. I think Feliciano will be at center. So theoretically, they should have a little bit more oomph in the interior. They should be able to win more of those battles at the second level. But the last couple games or so, that's where they've been getting beaten. and it's affecting, Saquon. And then also the other thing that's been curious is they haven't really been getting Daniel Jones out there running as much.
Right.
Now, here's an interesting thought, guys. Jones, if you remember, he had the sprained ankle. He was also wearing a knee brace for the beginning, earlier in the season. He's not wearing that anymore. So you wonder if he had some injuries there that were maybe causing the coaches to say, okay, let's not run this guy unless we absolutely positively have to.
Very possible.
Yep.
So
very possible.
I think they absolutely positively had to run him. I really do, because
or at least get
I
Brady
just
going.
feel like if you utilize Daniel Jones's legs, not only can Jones make a play with his legs, that split, that split second hesitation by the defense allows them to be back on their heels a little bit, which gives you a better push, which could open up a hole for Saquon Barkley. So I didn't know if Daniel Jones is 100%. I don't know. I don't think anybody's 100% at this point of the year. But I was curious, like, why are they not running? Because in the beginning of the year, we saw like in a half, they might not run him. In the second half, they certainly ran him a lot more. I think that happened in Green Bay or Baltimore, one of those games where he started running the ball a lot more in the second half. They didn't do it at all in the first half. So this is a game. Listen, one thing I know, and again, it's different years, it's different players, but Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley have had some of the best games of their career against this team. So, Daniel Jones last year, I think that was the year where Lawrence jumped off sides and the missed field goal.
Yes.
Jones had a huge game, and it could have been even bigger. Slayton dropped a deep touchdown pass, was right in his hands, and Jones had like a 40-yard touchdown run called back on a phantom holding. So he could have had an even bigger game than he did. Yep. So hopefully we see that Daniel Jones. I think he was the first rookie in history to throw for 350 yards, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers his rookie season against Washington in the Chase Young Bowl, which I'm glad that we lost the Chase Young Bowl, but won the game. Right, we won the game, but lost the Chase. It was dubbed the Chase Young Bowl at the time. So I think we made out better by winning that game. But like I'm not saying Jones needs to throw for 350 and 5 touchdowns, but we're gonna need a big performance from Jones and Barkley, are 2 superstars on offense for sure.
Yeah. Now I see some questions popping up, on what we're talking about. Guys in the chat want to know about Bredesen. Bredesen, I don't know that he's going to be ready this week. I heard of the 3 guys that were designated to return. He might be the farthest away from being. He might need another week. I think Ojulari will be back, and Tony Jefferson, I believe, will be back.
And Evan Neal.
Evan Neal's not on IR.
No, but he's back this week.
He's back. Yeah. But we're talking about, Bredesen, the guys on IR.
Yeah.
So the other question is, Gates at center and better than John Feliciano. I thought Gates had a good game.
Gates played great.
But, if they don't have a left guard, now Izzuto probably is not going to play. By the way, I would not be surprised if Izzuto lands on IR. I have that feeling. Don't ask me why. I just have that feeling. But they need a left guard. So if Izzuto can't go and Lemieux can't go, Gates is your guy, folks. So that's why I'm forecasting Gates at left guard.
Even if they can go.
Yeah, I'd rather Gates.
Yeah. I mean, he was the 10th highest rated offensive lineman in all football last week for a single game in terms of PFF rankings. You go by whatever you want, but he looked really good out there last week.
Yeah, that's against a tough front 7 too.
And it was against a tough front 7 too. So keep Gates out there. Don't mess with that.
Absolutely.
Keep him at the center spot.
Find a spot for him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but I do think, Feliciano will be back at center, and I have a feeling Gates is going to be your left guard. I don't think Bredesen is going to be ready. And you know what? Even if he is ready, I don't see how you put Gates on the bench. I just don't. I mean,
no, he's been playing well.
He's been playing well. There. Absolutely.
Oops. Bellinger coming back is going to be
huge.
Big.
You actually posted a good stat, Patricia. I saw on Twitter. You hit the yards per carry that the Giants averaged when he was in the lineup and out of the lineup. It was like astronomical. It was like double. It was
double. Yes, exactly. So that's going to be a huge addition. His double vision is gone. He's been working with a clear visor. So and kid looks good running. I mean, granted, they're just running around, but the kid looks like he's raring to go, and it's really it hurt him to have to miss the games, but
hurt the Giants too.
Especially
in the red zone. I mean, he was really good in the red zone. That's not only can he block really well, but he's a good target on third downs, and in the red zone, he's got good hands. I like Bellinger a lot. I really do. I think he's been awesome. And
Yes.
those are the type of picks you make your money on. Those are the type of picks that you build futures with when
Yep.
you're hitting on 4th-round picks. So I'm excited. Just a freak accident, which sucked, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's back because
Yes. Thank God he didn't go Brian Williams. I don't know if you guys remember the Brian Williams injury years ago. Brian Williams got poked in the eye in training camp.
Yep.
His career was basically over because he never could get rid of the double vision. So thank God that did not happen with Daniel Bellinger. All right, Matthew wants a Richie James update. Richie James is dealing with a knee injury. They didn't practice today, but he was projected as limited, whereas yesterday, I believe he did not practice. So he's trending in the right direction. And I see a couple people have asked me about Landon Collins. I don't know that Collins is going to be activated this week. Not a revenge game for him. And somebody asked, Donovan here wants to know, what does the future hold for Landon Collins? I don't know. The Giants have been playing him at, inside linebacker, but you kind of get the impression that Wink Martindale, Tony Jefferson, I mentioned he's probably going to come back off IR. That's a former Wink Martindale player. So I just wonder if maybe that's part of the thinking there. I don't think Landon's been bad when he's been in there, but they seem to like this combination of Micah McFadden and Jalen Smith, who's been really good at inside linebacker. So maybe they just feel that, okay, we'll save Landon for a rainy day, because they have one more activation before they have to add him to the 53-man roster. And I think they're probably saving that for the rain, like I said, the rainy day, because they've got other moves they need to make. And plus, and this is a big if, they try to sign Odell, they're going to need every last penny they can scrape together. So that's where things stand.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, when we signed Landon Collins, I didn't think he was going to be a guy that had a huge role for this New York Giants team. Obviously, he was a former Giant, a popular guy, but I'd probably be surprised if he's back with the team next year. There's a reason that he was available and nobody else picked him up. He's not the same player that he once was. Maybe he comes back, but obviously don't be surprised if he's not back next year with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he's glad to be back, but he's just got to be patient. He's just got to be patient. So, that's how it goes. And it is a money situation too, guys. A lot of people don't take this into consideration. I look at this stuff. For those of you who didn't see it, I put an article what a potential contract for Odell would look like over on Giants Country. But it costs, you got to look at the years of experience. The longer the vet has been in the league, the more it's going to cost you to bring him up from the practice squad, as opposed to a guy who's only been in the league like, a year or 2 years, or is in his first year. So that does factor into it, as does strategy, obviously, as does, personnel needs, injuries, and all that stuff. So there's a lot that goes into that, but we'll see. I mean, I like Landon. I hope he signs on and sticks around, but I don't know what the future holds for him. I really don't. All right. I want to get to this question here from JDJ about McKinney. Will he be able to return this year? You know what? I know he has said that he thinks he will be back. I have learned in my career to not necessarily buy into what guys say when they're injured, because
he also said before it became official, like when he broke it on Twitter, it's going to be a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it ain't going to be a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He would be eligible to come back after this game, but his hand's pretty messed up. I mean, I don't know.
When I saw those pictures, I'm like, he's missing the year. He will be lucky if he comes back for the last week. He's missing the year.
Yeah, I just don't. I'd like to think he's going to be back, but I have a gut feeling he's not. Yeah. After learning more about the injury, but I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I know he wants to come back, but you
don't count on it. Don't count on it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. All right. Matthew asked about the starting corners this week. I think Fabian Moreau will be back. I think he's trending in the right direction, so that's good. On the other side, would they
maybe Flott?
Flott is out of the concussion protocol, so that's good news. But I'm wondering if Rodarius Williams and Flott share that spot, because here's the other thing, guys. You got one of the big matchups is Jahan Dotson versus whoever's going to play slot, which would be Darnay Holmes.
Oh,
So do you maybe rotate different guys in that slot position? Do you shift guys around? I mean, I'm not sure how that's gonna
It's
play
gonna
out
be a
exactly,
very
but
interesting
that matchup worries me.
It's gonna be a very interesting chess match this week because normally I go into a game saying to myself, "This is how I think the Giants are going to defend this team." Washington presents a lot of different looks that they could give you. You mentioned the two different types of running backs. I worry more about the edge when it comes to the run defense. I feel like that's where we've been getting killed all year. So a guy like Brian Robinson doesn't really concern me too much. I think the Giants could do a decent job slowing him down. We saw what we did against Derrick Henry. We saw what we did against Pierce with the Texans. But Gibson worries me a bit off the edge. Curtis Samuel could be a guy that they could use a lot of jet sweeps in the backfield. We know he's been used as a running back before as well. I could see them trying to create big plays with that. But then in the passing game, they've got a lot of good wide receivers on this team. They just do, whether it be Samuel, whether it be Dotson, whether it be McLaurin, whether it be Gibson coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher. So it's going to be interesting to see what the New York Giants do to try to limit this offense. Obviously, I think you have to try to make them beat you with the pass. They're trying. They try to beat teams the same way that we do, but unlike us, kind of like what Bad Dog said, they actually have some weapons to throw to. They just don't have the quarterback to do it. He's not, he hasn't been very good for them, but they've found ways to win games anyway.
Blitz, and blitz some more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go after Heineke. Make
Yeah.
him make a mistake. That's where Wink is aggressive anyway. So I don't like when he blitzes on like 3rd and 17. Let's not do that. But I am bringing pressure. I'm bringing a lot of pressure.
You got to.
Saying, hey, if you beat my blitz,
God bless you.
But I'm going after Taylor Heineke. There is no question. I'm trying to put as much pressure on that guy as I possibly can, hoping that he makes a mistake. I know that leaves man coverage out there, the guy like McLaurin, and that is extremely scary. But you're going to have to take some chances in this game because, like I mentioned, it's the biggest game for us in a long time. Pretty much is the equivalent of a playoff game.
It's
all or nothing here. You got to play. You can't sit here and play not to lose in this one. You have to try to take it to them. I would do that early and often. And if he beats you, then you make adjustments. But I'm going after him.
Yeah, I agree with you. This week, you got to be aggressive on defense.
Absolutely. I agree with you as well. Christy wants to know, wonder when Adori's coming back. He's supposed to be close. It's interesting. Spoiler alert. I was supposed to do an interview with Adori this week. And he had to cancel because he wasn't feeling well. He had, I guess, that stomach bug that's going around the locker room. We probably won't see him for at least another week, possibly 2. He's got that I think it's an MCL sprain with him. So that's, you're looking at least 4 weeks with him based on how the other MCLs have gone. Could he be back sooner? Well, fingers crossed, but I'm thinking 4 weeks at least.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think the original diagnosis was 3 to 5 or something.
Yeah. And I think so, which would mean that his sprain was a little worse than maybe what some of these others were.
Thibodeau had a similar injury, right? I think at the beginning of the year.
Thibodeau's was, I think, a grade 1.
It was a grade 1.
I think he had a grade 1. So that was
speaking of Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh.
But but Chris, he didn't get a sack. He's a bust.
Oh yeah. Oh, he didn't get a sack.
Yeah.
He didn't get a sack.
I cannot wait to watch this guy play this week because now he's got his partner in crime back.
Yes.
And for the first time all year, all 4 of them are playing together at the same time.
That's what I'm saying.
Leo, Dex, and Kayvon.
Bring it. Bring the heat, Wink. Bring the heat.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Yes. All right. Gabe keeps posting this. I got to put this on the screen. Gabe says, what's pathetic? That the whole rookie class has been injured and a lot of players. This medical and strength and conditioning staff is horrible. Every year we have lots of injuries. Gabe, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, they're looking into the turf issue. They're going to replace the turf. The medical staff, they're not going anywhere. I mean, the medical staff treats the injuries. The strength and conditioning staff tries to get these guys, up and running. But football, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have broken bones and stuff like that. What you can work on to try and improve is obviously the soft tissue injuries. And I did an injury show a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. If you didn't check that out, check that show out. I thought the guest that I had on the show, very informative. He was a sports physical rehabilitation specialist. and we talked about various injuries and the turf and all this stuff and the strength and conditioning staff. And he was very, spoke very highly of Ronnie Barnes and the doctors that the Giants employ. So I know you guys don't want to hear it because you see the constant stream of injuries, but I don't know that there's one answer, guys. I really don't.
I don't know if the strength and conditioning coach had anything to do with Daniel Bellinger taking a Hulk Hogan eye rake and giving him double vision, or if a guy gets a concussion, like I don't know how that's on the strength, like Cordell Flott dealing with concussion or Darius Slayton having a stomach bug.
You've got to look at the specific injuries and how they
are muscle injuries. Then I would blame the strength, but when they're tendons. I mean, there's nothing you can do for an Achilles tendon. If it goes, it goes. I mean, it is a common injury. And an
ACL, how is the strength and conditioning staff supposed to prevent
like
an
I said,
ACL?
the only thing I can think of is these guys are too strong and it's too much pressure on the tendons. That's really it.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think, what was it, last week? We were talking about with regards to Aziz. I think I asked, did Aziz get too big? Mm-hmm. And is that because Doug, you're into strength training and all that stuff, so you probably know a little bit more about this than we do. Extra muscle can put wear and tear on the joints, and if you don't, I
have a theory too about the injury thing. I have a theory, and I know the stats say we've had the most injuries, and we get a lot of injuries, but I think fans overemphasize the injuries with the New York Giants because how bad the team has been. Because good teams have depth. Good teams overcome injuries. The New York Giants have been a bad football team for 10, 12 years. So when they have one or two injuries, the team is screwed. When a team like Baltimore has some injuries, guys step in and they still find ways to win football games. The same thing with the New England Patriots. So that's my theory on it. I'm not saying that we haven't had some bad luck. I'm not saying that the turf doesn't play a factor. But that's my theory on it. Every team in the NFL has injuries. Some teams are better equipped to deal with it than others.
Yeah.
Listen, we talked about it earlier in the year. Guys had stepped up on this team, but I mean, we've been decimated by injuries. Losing our number. How many corners did we lose?
Oh,
how many secondary was thin going into the year, and how many injuries we have in the secondary? Yep. Offensive line, same thing. Our offensive line was thin. So to your point, Chris, the lack of depth catches up with the Giants, and that is why you need to draft well. That's why you got to find these guys later in the draft, because that's the depth of your team. If they end up starting, great, because then you have starters that don't cost any money. You can bring in backup pieces for better depth. But I remember, I've been on YouTube a long time, and I can remember my first stint YouTube when the Giants won their Super Bowl in 2007, and they were the best team in 2008. And the sports community was extremely small. There might have been 6 dozen people making sports videos in 2008. But I remember Giants and Cowboys fans used to go at it all the time. One thing we always used to say to the Cowboys fans back in 2008, because we would have injuries, they would have injuries, they would always complain about their injuries. We would say, got depth. That was the thing. Got depth. Yeah. So we haven't had depth.
And we haven't drafted one.
Right. And to your point, because I did this study, and I remember it because I did this years ago. I went back and I looked at the 2007 Super Bowl team. Sometimes, injuries stink. Don't get me wrong. And you don't want to see it to any guy, but oftentimes it's who's getting hurt. If your 5th string cornerback is landing on IR at the start of training camp, you're probably not going to miss him as much as you would your 1st string.
Right.
So that year, 2007, the Giants had 20 different guys on IR. But if you looked at where they fell within the depth chart, it wasn't that bad. And because they had depth, like Dog was saying, they were able to overcome it. So a lot of it does have to do, and that's a valid point that, Tainah made. If you don't have depth, then this is going to get magnified. But if you have guys that can step in, it's suddenly it's not a big deal. Case in point, everybody's saying, Gates has to remain at center because Feliciano is, that. Well, Feliciano got injured, and this is a case of a healthy player, now healthy player stepping in, showing that depth. So that's a valid point, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Ravens fans or the Patriots fans complain about injuries as much as we do, because they still find ways to win because their teams are built so much better than ours. And I think it speaks to how poor the drafting has been. And I'm not saying we haven't had more injuries. We have.
Mhm.
The stats say we've had more injuries than any other team in the league. But when we have injuries, it impacts our teams a lot more than it does others because we don't have depth. We haven't drafted well for years.
Yep. Great point. Scott Young wants to know, will Washington sit Chase Young knowing that the turf is prone to injuries, then he's just coming back? You know what, Scott? I asked that question actually of David Harrison on the crossover show yesterday, or the show that's running today on Thursday. I also asked that of Anthony Armstrong, who's a former Commanders receiver who was on my Wednesday show. And they both felt that it is possible you will not see Chase Young. And if you do see Chase, it's going to be very, very limited. Let him sit. They've got the bye week. No point of necessarily rushing him back this week. Bring him in for the second game against the Giants after the bye when they are on grass. So, yes, that's a valid point. That would not surprise me if Chase Young sits this weekend.
Let him sit let him sit the next 3 weeks.
I don't think that's going to happen, but definitely
That's what we got Andrew Thomas for, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We got him for.
Yes,
Let his
absolutely.
first game be back the second time we play them. So he's a little rusty.
Right.
Maybe
He's on a snap count.
Yeah, let that happen.
Yeah, I my guess is they would sit him. To me, it makes sense to sit him.
Yeah.
Don't play him this on that turf. I would not. If I were Washington, I wouldn't. Now, I don't know if they will or won't, but that's if you had to, say write out your inactive report right now, I would have Chase Young on the inactive report. Give him the bye week. Let him get an extra weekend.
Give him another week after that. But the other thing I think we got to worry about. I mean, the other thing I think it looks like for Washington, who may not play, who is out today in the practice, which I think would be pretty big for the Giants. Antonio Gibson did not practice today for Washington. He was limited the day before. He's got an injury. Like I said, I worry more about him in this game actually than Robinson because of his explosive nature on the outside. So if he doesn't play, that could be a big thing for the Giants as well.
Yes, definitely. All right. Doc Carter asks, how much can we actually spend next year? I'm assuming you mean in terms of free agency. The number's going to fluctuate. All right. I can tell you what it is today, but it's going to fluctuate because obviously Kenny Galladay's contract is going to come off the books. They're going to probably have to franchise Saquon would be my guess. Daniel's going to get redone at some point, and who knows? They might redo one of Dexter or Andrew Thomas. So I could sit here and give you today's number, but I don't know what that number is going to be come the start of the new league year in March. That's a ways down. And I tell people, don't worry about the money now because it's going to change. So
I'm going to say
I will say that they'll be in better shape than they were this past year.
But they're not going to sign anybody big.
No.
Look at all the guys that we have that we may have to bring back. That's going to cost us money.
Exactly.
Julian Love, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. There's so many other players that are pending free agents. So I think the majority, and wisely, that's the way they should do it.
Yep.
The majority of that money is going to be spent on Darius Slayton is another one that we may have to pay. We'll see. But
Nick Gates, they'll probably want to bring back.
The
Julian
majority
Love.
of the money is going to be spent on the pending free agents that may be leaving the New York Giants. So that's where I think the majority of it's going to go. And the reason I think it's smart to keep them, we've talked about it before, it's what the best teams do.
Right.
They say we lose Darius Slayton now to free agency and we don't go out there and spend $12 million on a wide receiver, we'll get a 4th-round comp pick for him if he gets a sizable contract. That's what the best teams do. They take advantage of when they lose players to other teams to free agency because those teams can't draft properly, and you get extra draft compensation for it by not going outside the organization and spending a whole lot of money. So I don't expect the Giants to do what they did under Gettleman. I don't expect the Kenny Galladay signing. I don't expect the Dory Jackson signing. I don't expect the James Bradbury signing. I think they're going to keep a lot of these players in-house, and they're going to make smart, cost-effective moves from as far as the outside players.
That's what Shane said he wanted to do when he was hired, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Draft, develop your own players, identify who's going to be part of your future, and sign those guys. They have Daniel, they've got Saquon, they've got to do Andrew, Dexter, McKinney's going to come up at some point. I mean, take care of those guys. Julian Love, he's another one.
Nick Gates, you mentioned.
Nick Gates, that's 7 guys right there that they can spend on, and then use whatever money you have left over to kind of supplement holes and stuff. And who says you've got to spend it all in one month anyhow?
Yeah.
You know, in the past, you know, sometimes a couple of years ago, I think Gettleman was like, it was almost like a race to see how fast he could spend all his money.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's the rush? You know, I
Well,
mean,
the rush was we needed to find anybody we could because we couldn't draft.
exactly. Well, yeah, but now
was the
you
rush.
now you
He
got
was trying to win. He was trying to win immediately.
he was
and
trying to
he was
he was
bringing in
trying
the
to
best,
take the
like the
shortcut.
biggest, maybe not the best, but the biggest name free agents
Yeah.
he could bring in here. The other thing you got to realize with the Giants cap next year is they got to pay for their draft class. I mean, they got to pay the guys that they draft.
And we don't
So
know what that cost is going to be.
right. So that's gonna
Well, Kenny
cost.
Galladay's money is going to go towards that because
Right.
I still say they're going to make Kenny a post June 1st transaction. And oh, by the way, if they need money to get through the rest of this year, they're going to have to touch Galladay's contract. And again, in that article I wrote that's on Giants Country, I talked about that. It's the article on, you know, what kind of contract could Odell get if he signs here. So I did touch upon that a little bit with regards to Kenny Galladay and what they might have to do and what I think they're going to do. But there is a reason why Shane hasn't touched that contract yet. If he needs to, he's waiting as long as he possibly can before he has to touch that sucker. He does not want to have to make that hit any worse than it needs to be. And it's going to be, you know, it'll be bad next year. But like I said, you make him a post June 1st.
If I was going to say, you think they'll make it a post June 1st call?
I think so because they'll save more.
Now, if they do that, which I agree, that's probably what they will do to pay for the draft class. And the way they do it is they split it in half. So it's like instead of
so the way it works is, and I'm just pulling up the numbers so I have the exact numbers. If they cut Galladay pre June 1st, they save 6.7 and they get a dead money hit of 14.7. If they make him a post June 1st,
it's like 7.
The saving jumps up to 13.5.
Yeah.
Dead money gets knocked into this year's cap, or I should say the 2023 cap, 7.9, and then the balance of it, the 7.9, gets dumped into the following year's cap. So you're basically spreading it out a little bit. But the trade-off here is you're getting over 13 million in space, more than enough to sign a draft class, and still have money left over to do stuff if you want to, you know, churn the bottom of the roster going into training camp and beyond.
But if they do that, Patty, which I agree, I think that's what they're going to do. That even further indicates to me they're not going to spend in free agency in terms of outside free agents.
Absolutely.
That's $7 million less that you're going to have freed up to go out and bring in outside free agents once free agency hits in March or April. If you wait till that June 1st cut, all the top free agents are gone at that point. So if they do that, that even further indicates to me that they're going to try to bring guys in in-house.
Here's the other thing.
Not try to get the high ticket free agents.
Yeah, but here's the other thing though, Chris, is sometimes you're going to see teams after the draft, you're going to see veterans hit free agency.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be post June 1st. So you might be able to pick guys up on the secondary market, but you're not going to have the money necessarily to go for the big fish, in March, so to your point, yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. And I know somebody asked me about cap space, so I'll just look it up real quick. And again, this is going to change, guys, but let's see. For next year, the Giants have the third most projected cap space. Over the cap has them projected at $59 million of cap space, which is third most behind the Bears and the Falcons. That is going to change. Now, the effective cap space, there's a difference between cap space and effective cap space. Effective cap space is what the team has left after the top 51 goes into effect. Mm-hmm. So the Giants will have 46.078 million in effective cap space. So
is that
in other
accounting
words,
for the projected expenses for the draft?
That's everything. The draft, you're going to have to deduct whatever the draft is from that amount.
Okay.
So as of now, 59 million total, 46.078 effective. Effective is top 51. So if you do the difference, then it balances out a little bit. But I know it sounds confusing, but top 51 is why teams can have 90 men on their roster and not everybody counts against the cap. So that's the easiest way to describe it.
There you go.
So a little bit of capology there for you guys. I know you guys ask me about that all the time. So as it comes up, I try to introduce that stuff. So, All right. Let's see. JDJ, do you think we extend Dexter Lawrence or will he go the way of Hankins? Lawrence, they picked up his 5th-year option. So he's under contract for another year. And let me see what his number is for next
It's 10
year.
million.
Is it 10
Yeah,
million?
maybe it's like 10.5, but it's 10 million.
Okay, so it's Dexter
There was a
Lawrence.
deal.
It's actually 12.407.
Oh, it
So
changed
little,
then. I thought
yeah,
it was 10
it's a little bit more.
Okay, it went
But
up.
but
Okay.
you know what? Given how
Worth
he's
it.
playing, I
He's
think
worth double that. So what some of these D tackles are making.
here's what I'm thinking. If you're Shane, and you have a situation like this with Lawrence, maybe you wait until once the season gets going and you see what your cap situation looks like, then you try and do something during the season, if you can. So I think the priorities is you got to get the guys who don't have contracts. You got to take care of them first. So that's why I question if Andrew Thomas is going to have his deal done. He's going to be this is his 3rd year.
Yep.
They can lock him up for 2 more years, and then if they need to use the franchise tag, they can use that another 2 years if they need to. So they could probably wait on Thomas. I think they'll wait on Dexter. Got to take care of Saquon. You got to resolve the quarterback situation, obviously, and some of these other guys, Love, Gates, Slayton. Jihad Ward is a guy that I think they want to bring back. Somebody asked earlier about Ellerson Smith. They love Jihad Ward, and I think that's why.
You might want to bring him back. Fabian Moreau.
Well, Moreau was an option, obviously. So, but yeah, they are. I don't think they're going to. The bottom line is they're not going to let Dexter go away. I would be stunned.
I think they're going to extend him. I think he'll be extended. If I had to guess, I think he'll be extended before the year starts because if I'm Dex's agent, you don't want him playing on that $10 million.
You don't, option. But you know what? It's guaranteed, Chris.
It's guaranteed, but he's worth more than double that.
He absolutely is.
So if I'm his agent and they come to me with what is a fair market offer, which is about $23 million a year on a 4-year extension, you sign that before the year starts. So
absolutely.
But
you got to do it. You've got to take care of the guys who are, that's first and foremost. And then maybe you look to get Dexter.
And they got to extend Leo to free up more money too.
Leo's exactly. Because, Leo's a guy, they could get more money if they can work out an extension with him, because I think next year is the last year of his deal.
$32 million against the cap next year.
Yeah. You got to get that number down. No question. Absolutely no question about that. And Gene, no, nobody has contacted me about the salary cap. I mean, I know a lot about it, but I don't know everything about the cap. But I know enough to do what I need to do.
Amazing Guy says, I'm not giving Dexter Lawrence $23 million a year. No way. Do you know what what D tackles get paid? And do you know how well he's playing right now for the New York Giants? You're going to give it to him. I promise.
But you know what? Here's the other thing you got to remember, guys. When we say $23 million, doesn't mean he's going to get $23 million cash. It's going to be maybe a $23 million
maybe
APY,
21, maybe 22, but
maybe it's going to be an APY because you're going to have you're going to have the prorated signing bonus. You're going to have all the things that tend to drive up the number.
Do you know what DeForest Buckner gets paid? Do you think Dexter Lawrence is as good as DeForest Buckner? He's making $21 million a year. Do you think Dexter Lawrence is as good as Chris Jones? He's making $20 million a year. What do you think Dexter Lawrence is going to get? He's young and the market only goes up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're talking average per year. APY.
Yeah, average. Yeah.
Yep. Chris Jones, 20. Buckner, 21. Leonard Williams, 21. Donald's getting 31. Oh,
he's
yeah.
on another level. He's on his own island.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see Dexter doing, easily 18 and up.
Yeah.
No question. If Dexter stays, and that's the other thing, Dexter's been healthy. He's been there for this team. So, I mean, why wouldn't you, reward him?
You're paying Dexter.
That's why giving him a 5th-year option was huge, because $12 million is an absolute bargain for.
Yes.
Sexy
Absolutely.
Dexy.
Absolutely. All right, guys and gals, got to take my first commercial break. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in a jiff. This episode of the LockedOn Giants podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Playing daily fantasy based on player projections has never been easier when you visit prizepicks.com. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they go on to score more or less than their prize pick projections, You will win up to 10 times the amount of your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks is currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada, and they offer projections on every sport. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and PrizePicks offers safe and fast withdrawals. Download the PrizePicks app today or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget that promo code is locked on at sign up, and that website is prizepicks.com. All right, everybody, you got Traina, Tainah, and the dog here on Locked On Giants Live. We're talking New York Giants. What else?
That was pretty good.
We talking?
It's pretty
I'm
good.
getting better.
Sorry.
I'm getting better. I'm working on it.
The initial intro was fantastic. Fantastic.
For those of you who don't know, Chris grades me every week now on my intros and my comebacks and my outros and all that stuff. All good, folks. It's fine. I do this for you guys. I don't do it for any other reason. And as long as I don't hear up above my husband yelling down, you know what?
Yeah.
So, which he has done at times. So
I'm just kidding with you.
No, it's all good. I listen, I'm fine with it. Okay, so let's continue with your questions. We'll continue with topics relevant to the Giants. And I know some of you probably don't want us to talk about it, but we've got to mention it. We've got to mention the big, the O word. Odell Beckham did have his visit, from what I understand, with the Giants. I think he came in late this afternoon. I believe they went out to dinner. Now, here's the interesting thing that I found this kind of interesting at any rate. They didn't work him out. The New York Post reported that they weren't going to work him out, that, the only way they were going to assess where his knee really was is to have their doctors look at him.
Mm-hmm.
I found that to be
odd,
unusual. Yeah, unusual. But, the more I thought about it, I'm wondering, we see guys get injured with ACLs, and it takes them anywhere from a year to 2 years to really get back to where they were. Mm-hmm. Odell was injured, in February?
Yep,
so
Super Bowl.
Yeah, so he would have had his surgery, late February, early March? He's not out. He hasn't been,
It's been 9 months, 10 months.
It's been 9 months.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if at this point, is Odell, our teams may be looking at Odell as not so much a signing for this year, but maybe for next year.
Yeah, from what I understand, when he goes to Dallas and Buffalo, they're not working him out either. So he's not working out. And they did say that it'd be hard for him to have 3 workouts in 5 days anyway, because that's what he's going to do, visit these other teams. So, yeah, I don't know with Odell. I don't know if he's going to play this year. I don't know what he would bring to this team, because Saquon Barkley tore his ACL. He's younger than Odell Beckham. And it definitely took him a full year, then some, to recover, because he wasn't a player last year that he is this year.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe it's mental too. Guys think about that. Adrian Peterson didn't bother him one bit. Dude,
right.
Came back, almost broke the single season rushing record. So some guys recover quicker. We know Robert Griffin III was never the same after tearing his ACL. So you don't know. It really does depend on the player, the person, their mental makeup, their physical makeup, all this stuff. So, yeah, I don't know how effective Odell Beckham would be, even if he could get out there and play. So it is interesting. I don't know how you can evaluate a guy coming off a torn ACL.
You can't
run torn ACLs.
You can't. That would be as foolish as, that's basically asking a team to sign him sight unseen, which is what
Here's my take on the Odell situation. Listen, if we get him for a cheap deal, I'm completely for it. I know the fan base would love it, but be honest with yourself if you're listening. If I told you, if Odell was not a former Giant, if you didn't have the incredible, great memories about Odell Beckham, if this was a former Eagle, if this was a former Patriot, and I presented the facts to you, a former Cowboy, 30 years old, 2 torn ACLs, he's only 9 months removed from the injury, would you be knocking down the door to sign Odell Beckham? You probably wouldn't. So I think you have to think of it also from Joe Shane's perspective and not just from a Giants fan's perspective, thinking about the old days of Odell Beckham when he was 23 years old, before he had 2 ACL surgeries. The Giants have to be smart with this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Joe Shane knows they're not a wide receiver away
Exactly.
from competing for a Super Bowl, especially a wide receiver that's 30 years old with 2 torn ACLs. Like, that is not, like I said, and I've mentioned this a number of times. If we were in the situation that the Rams were in last year and they brought him in, it makes perfect sense. We're not in that situation. This is the first year of a rebuild. Now, we're playing with house money at 7-4. Nobody really expected the Giants to be 7-4. Maybe some people did. I didn't think they'd be 7-4 at this point in the year. I certainly didn't think we'd start 7-2. So the fact that these guys have a vision, I don't know if Odell Beckham is part of their vision for the future, because that's the thing. You got to realize these guys are building for the future. This year's been awesome, but they're not looking at just this year. They're looking at, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and they're sitting there saying, is he the guy to build around? Do you want to have a 30-year-old wide receiver? Because I don't even know. We could, the only receiver that may be coming back is Wan'Dale Robinson. You don't know, Galladay is going to be gone. I don't know if they'll bring Shepard back here. Sill's probably ain't coming back. James ain't coming back. Slayton might get a lot of money from somewhere else. He'd be like the one guy I'm like, that's the guy that I think would have the best chance of coming back here besides Wan'Dale Robinson, who also tore his ACL and probably won't be ready till the middle of next year.
Yep.
So,
and they're going to draft. They're going to draft.
I was going to say, it's a very deep wide receiver class in the draft.
And I'm sure and by the way, I see that Carter says that they're thinking about it with this visit. I'm sure they're thinking about it because
they're doing due diligence. That's what they're doing.
Bad Dog said, when you look at next year's free agency class, and like Bad Dog was just saying, we're going to have a lot of holes to fill in this wide receiving core. The only guy that may be coming back is Wan'Dale Robinson, and he may not be starting the season after the injury that he sustained. Hopefully Slayton can come back, but because of how thin the wide receiver market is, I think he's going to be out of our budget. I think he's going to get a pretty sizable contract somewhere the way that he's played for the New York Giants, but we'll see at the end of the year. So I think the Giants are doing their homework. They realize the wide receiver market is thin, and if they could get Odell Beckham for a really affordable contract, and maybe it's a heavily incentive-based deal, maybe they do think about bringing him in. But I don't think that Joe Shane's going to roll out the red carpet for him and give him a 3-year, $45 million contract. I just don't, and I personally, I don't think anybody's going to do it. But if somebody's going to be more willing to overpay, it's probably going to be a team like the Dallas Cowboys or the Buffalo Bills, who feel like they have an opportunity right now to win a Super Bowl.
Like the Rams did last year.
So it's why I've never thought that the Giants and Beckham made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be a nice story for the fans and whatnot, but this is a business, guys, and I still don't think it's going to happen. Now, I did put together a contract. Like I said, it's over on Giants Country if you want to check out what I put together. I don't see it happening.
It's just, I did a video on that thing, like what I thought the pros and cons were. And, I just think that the cons outweigh the pros because of where the Giants are cap-wise and franchise-wise right now. It's just difficult to wrap your mind around. You just brought in a brand new front office, a brand new, coaching staff. You've said you're rebuilding. Do you rebuild with a 30-year-old wide receiver coming off of 2 torn ACLs? He's also had other injury issues. I think he had shoulder surgery at that one time. He had hamstring issues when he first got here.
And he's what, 3 years removed from his last 1,000 yards receiving?
Yeah, he's kind of, since he left the Giants, he really hasn't been extremely effective. And I know injuries played a big part in that. There's no question. But then I started thinking to myself, how much of a part did Eli Manning play in his success? He don't have Eli Manning throwing in the ball. Stafford, good quarterback, and Beckham was pretty good with the Rams,
and McVay helps too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's, we talked about how a quarterback and play calling can help a receiver. So again, if anybody's interested, check out the show I did Wednesday with Anthony Armstrong. That was, really informative. If you missed that one, I highly recommend you check that one out. All right. Let's get off of Odell for now. Matthew wants to know, if you had to guess one pending free agent to lose, who's it going to be? That's a good question.
Slayton.
You think it's going to be Slayton?
Yeah,
I would agree with that. And it's funny. I did an interview with Slayton. I finally wrote it up and I put it on Giants Country over the weekend. Slayton, like everybody else, I said to him, have you thought about your future? And, no, I haven't really thought about it. I'm in the moment. But after what that kid went through, how the Giants made him take a pay cut or
Yeah.
be cut, if I'm him, I'd try and cash in.
And look how thin the wide receiver market is.
Yep.
Right. I saw an article yesterday. PFF had him rated as the third best free agent next year at the wide receiver position.
Considering he almost got cut.
The guy was our fifth wide receiver 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
or whatever it was. So to me, with how thin the wide receiver market is, he's going to get a pretty good payday. Listen, if I would have told you before free agency started last year, Christian Kirk was going to get $19 million a year, you would have called me a moron. Darius Slayton might get a $14, $15 million a year payday if there's a team desperate enough to bring in a wide receiver, which is good news for us, by the way, because we'll get a third-round comp pick probably. But, yeah, I think we're going to lose him because I think because of the combination of all the other free agents that we have and how thin that position is in this year's free agency class, I think he's going to be worth more than what the New York Giants can afford.
I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, I don't want to see it because I think, and I've said this before, mad respect for Darius Slayton for how he has conducted himself, for his attitude. I mean, you will not find a more professional guy, given the circumstances that he just went through. You will not find a more professional guy. And
here's a question.
Yep.
Would you rather, if all the money was equal, would you rather pay Beckham? Would you rather pay Slayton?
Slayton.
Exactly. Well,
not even close. Not even
close. Not even
Slayton
close.
is younger.
Yeah.
Different types of receivers, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
Beckham sells jerseys.
But that said,
Slayton,
younger and Slayton's healthier.
Right. That was my point. So instead of spending the money on Odell Beckham on a contract, again, maybe depending on what Slayton wants. But like Chris said, if somebody says, there's no wide receivers out there, we're a wide receiver away, and we want to bring, maybe the Bills want to bring him in there. Maybe Dallas wants to bring him in.
Yeah.
Maybe they will pay $14 million a year for Darius Slayton. If we get a third-round comp pick, that's well worth it. Yeah. And then you just get your you get your wide receivers in the draft. There's a lot of good wide receivers out there.
I would love to bring Slayton back, but I think there's a point where Shane has to be diligent. He can't give him $14, $15 million a year with all the other players that the New York Giants have to potentially bring back. So hopefully it's a reasonable price. Hopefully we get him back here for $7 million, $6 million. Because if you could do that, I would like to have Darius Slayton back, especially with his chemistry with Daniel Jones. But if his market is higher than I think it's what I expected, say 6 weeks ago, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to bring him back.
Yeah, I hope he comes back. Because like I said, he's great for the locker room, and he's really not a bad receiver. He had injury issues. He wouldn't use it as an excuse, but I basically said to him, "You just don't go from the top of the heap down to the bottom overnight." I said you had injury issues, and they were playing with you. It was playing with your confidence, and he wouldn't come right out and say you were right. But trust me, I was onto something there. So, Is he a legitimate number one receiver? I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but he could be a very good, I think, 2 or 3 on a team, and he can contribute, So I would have no problem with them being brought back.
Yeah, it'd be great if they could afford to bring Slayton back and you drafted a number one wide receiver and you had that kid
and
Wandale in the slot.
Yep.
Then
I'd be fine with that.
To make something there with your wide receiving core.
I would definitely be fine with that. All right. Fabian asks, what do we do different running against Washington? All right. I have a couple thoughts there. Number one, I think with a more physical line, Gates in there, Feliciano coming back. Number one, they got to win at the second level. As I mentioned earlier in the show, they haven't been doing that the last couple of games, at least the last couple of games. But more importantly, give the defense something else to think about. Maybe have Daniel Jones, have him as a runner. Don't just kind of sit there and now take him out of the equation. And oh, by the way, I'd like to see more of Matt Breida, more of that 20, 22 personnel, or, see more of that. That would be really cool, I think.
I think this week, and I honestly think they've been saving it. I think that they knew that, and Dable talked about it this week. He said that this is a new season, and I think they were saving it. After that Lions game, I think they said, all right, We're playing Dallas, 4 days off on the road. Let's be real. We're going to conserve our energy. I think they're going to let Daniel Jones loose this week. I think he's going to run a ton. I think they're going to use Daniel Jones'
I'm
legs
with you.
a ton in this game. And I think the last 2 weeks is the reason they haven't used it is because they said to themselves, all right, we're probably not going to beat Dallas. Let's save a couple of body blows, give ourselves 11 days off. But that's our second best weapon in this offense outside of Saquon Barkley. So
Yep.
I think you're going to see them use Daniel Jones's legs a ton in a do or die game. They're going to have to.
Yeah, and this is a do or die game, as
And
we
like
have
I said,
said.
he's had his best games against Washington. So
Yeah.
he plays well against it. Dallas seems to have his number. He struggles against Dallas. The other two teams in the division he plays very well against. So, take that.
I don't know what that is, but you're absolutely right. And let's hope he continues that.
Yeah.
All right. Gabe wants to know, do you think there's a way to keep Dex and Leo together? I believe so, because you would have to, let me see now. Dex is up. They've got him under contract next year. Leo is under contract through next year. So I see what you're saying. You don't want to get into a situation where you have to pick one or the other. I would say if I'm the Giants, I take care of all the guys that are going to be free agents.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe I look to do one of, we mentioned it before. Leo's going to count for $32 million against the cap.
Oh.
You try and get that number down next year if you can. So I do think it's possible, but I don't think they would do the two contracts together. I think maybe you do Leo's first, and then the next year you do Dexter's. That's how it would make sense to me, at any rate.
I think they could keep them together for a period. I don't think it's going to be 5 years.
No.
But I think they could keep Leo here for probably another 3. He's under contract next year. Maybe you give him a 3-year extension with the ability to get out after 2, something like that to spread out the money. So I think they could keep these guys together for at least another 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I don't think you're going to keep Leo here for the next 6 or 7 like you're going to keep Dexter, simply because of age, and you can't really afford to pay 2 guys at that position a ton of money. But I think you could do it. You could structure Dexter Lawrence's contract in a way when you do extend him where the premium money doesn't kick in until Leo's off the roster. So I think they can maneuver it in a way where they could keep both for maybe 3 more years to keep that strength on the interior defensive line, but I don't think they could keep it together for, say, 6 or 7.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Now, here's the other thing. When Leo originally signed, I think initially I remember reading or hearing that the Giants wanted to sign him for an extra year than what he got, and he wanted an opportunity to go back on the market and cash in one last time.
And we all know that Leo's going to get every penny.
But, here's the thing. From what I understand, Leo likes it here. They like him. No reason why they can't maybe look to do something. Now, if they don't get something done, then that just tells you that Leo's might gonna want to hit the market and see if he can really get that last big fish, if you will.
You get another comp pick then.
Yeah, I can't blame him for it. Get your money.
But you got to try and get that $32 million down, because that's the fallout from what Gettleman did a couple of years ago. And, if you're
Leo, though, and I came to you, he's due $32 million because of all the backloading. If I'm Joe Schoen and I come to you and I say, Leo, we want you here long-term. We want you here for 3 more years. We're trying to build with you. We're going to give you a $20 million per year extension. At his age, is he going to say no to that? Maybe even if it was 18 or 19 and you say, all right, now you're due 32, another 18 per or 19 per on average. You're talking 57. You're talking like $90 million over the course of 4 years. You spread it out, $22 million a year. If you come in with something like that, I think he'd say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Matthew said, going back to Odell, did you see Josina's report today? Talked about plans with OBJ. Until he signed, I love Josina. She's been very good to me. I consider her a friend. Until the deal is done, they could roll out the purple carpet for all I care. This is all just, posturing and grandstanding at this point. And it's due diligence. That's the bottom line.
Josina likes to tease a lot.
She tends to speak in code, and and I understand where she's coming from.
Yeah,
I do. Trust me. I actually respect Josina. Like I said, she's been very good to me. I consider her a friend, but I've had conversations with her about many, many topics, and I'm like, from a business perspective, if you're the Giants, I don't think that you're going to sign a guy for big money without seeing him work out. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm still learning about how this new regime works, but I don't see it happening. I think they're just doing due diligence, feeling each other out. There's a lot of things that have to be answered.
I also think he's using the Giants and their fans, if I'm being honest with you. He's not stupid.
That would not surprise me.
Because he knows that fan interest could drive up potentially his price.
Sure.
You see all these Giants fans jumping all over each other to get him. That adds pressure to Shane. That adds pressure to the Cowboys. That adds pressure to the Bills. Listen, the Giants fans are pushing Joe Shane to make this move. Give him the extra $2 million. Like, he's not stupid. Odell Beckham has set this up to try to get every last penny that he can, as he should.
I think it'd be more from Dallas and Buffalo. Buffalo don't compete with the Giants. Dallas, however,
I don't think Buffalo has. I think Buffalo's remaining cap space is worse than the Giants. I think they have under $1 million.
I don't know how they would do it, but
Dallas has the best.
Dallas just seems like that's a Jerry Jones thing. Even if Beckham doesn't help them, I want to stick it to the Giants. That's what that move be. I want to stick it to the Giants fans. I want to take one of their favorite players of all time and put him in a Dallas uniform, which I got to be honest, it makes me sick to my stomach. I couldn't see him in that uniform.
It would be payback from when the Giants poached Ron Stone all those years ago. Yeah. Ron Stone had a good career with the Giants, as I remember.
It was when Steve Smith went to the Eagles, I was sick because I loved Steve Smith.
That
worked out well for us, though.
It did. But
when he went there, I'm like, oh man,
I love
that. Was a mess. Behind the scenes, that was a mess. I remember that. They were furious.
Yeah.
So because I think there were some promises broken and stuff like that. But it did work out. It did work out. All right. Papa Guzzo wants to know what's Washington's remaining games other than the Giants. All right, I gotta look this up.
They do have San Fran once, that I know.
All right, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to tell you right now.
They have Dallas.
All right, Washington
I know.
has
Cleveland, Dallas, and Washington.
Dallas, Frisco, 2 games with the Giants in Cleveland.
Yeah.
They have the third hardest strength of schedule behind the Giants in Chicago.
I'm going to do the math for you guys right now. This is why I did it today. If the Giants were to sweep Washington, which is a tall order, and it's one game at a time. We got to beat Washington first. But it's why I keep saying that's our easiest path to the playoffs. If the Giants were to sweep Washington, the Giants could lose the rest of their games. They could finish 9-8. And the only way they don't make the playoffs is if Washington goes 3-0 in those 3 games you just mentioned. Cowboys, Cleveland, 49ers. Probably not happening. Or the Lions finish 5-1. With a schedule that includes the Packers, the Vikings, the Jets. So that's probably not going to happen. So if the Giants sweep Washington, I'd say there's like a 90% chance we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
I win this one.
This is a big one. This is a big game. If the Giants lose this game, I don't want to see my Twitter feed after this game if they lose. I really don't.
It's a huge game. It's such a big
game. It is that big.
Much at stake this week for so many of the players on the team for this season. It's such a big game. I'm so nervous. It's such a big game.
All right. All right. So Gabe brings up this point. You guys are telling me you want to have your whole receiver room to be on rookie contracts. I sure don't. It sounds like a recipe for disaster. I want vets in there.
I mean, I want
the right people in there. I don't care if they're rookies or vets. I want the right people in there with the right attitude, the right work ethic, the right talent, the right fit for what the Giants are doing. I could care less if they're first-year players or they've been in the league 100 years. Get me the right people. And I
want Slayton. I want Slayton, but I'm also smart enough. I also see that Daniel Jones is a free agent. Julian Love's a free agent. Saquon Barkley's a free agent. There's so many other, we don't, there's only so much money. I would love to bring back Slayton. I see the slim wide receiver market. And if he's worth so much in that market, the Giants can't overcommit. They can't. And I know people fall in, and I see Pizzle was in the chat. He loves Slayton. And I give him all the credit in the world. Slayton's turned it around this year. He's played great for the Giants. And everybody's going to have their favorites. But Joe Shane has to be smart.
Yep.
As much as I like Slayton, as much as I think him and Dan Jones have great chemistry, and as much as I think he's a great locker room guy, as much as I love what he did for this team this year, and and taking the pay cut, and he's been so big for this offense this year, you can't give him $15-16 million. And if a team is willing to give him that, I'm happy for him. Much like I was happy for Steve Smith when the Eagles gave him a boatload of money. The Giants can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the other thing. So you want to keep David Sills and Richie James just because they've been in the league? You want to hang on to Kenny Galladay's ridiculous contract because he's a veteran? So you want to pay these guys, even though they don't really produce a lot, you want to bring them back here because of veteran leadership. See, like Patty just said, I don't care how long they've been in the league. Slayton is the one guy that I think could come back here outside of Wan'Dale Robinson, but that's not guaranteed. Galladay's not coming back here. Richie James, David Sills.
I don't know if Richie James makes it through the rest of the year.
Colin Johnson recovers, and Colin Johnson's the guy. I love Colin Johnson.
Yes.
Maybe he's the guy. Maybe a guy pops up in camp. You don't know. But my point is, Galladay's not coming back here. Sills isn't coming back here. I mean, they don't even.
Yeah, why would you want to bring almost anybody back from this receiving core?
The only guy that I would want to bring back here is Darius Slayton
and Robinson. And Robinson.
Well, Robinson's
he has to come back.
Goes out saying he's coming back. He's got a rookie contract, but I'm fine with that. But to your point, Chris, it's hard to pay a wide receiver $15 million because we're in that boat with Kenny Galladay. It's hard to pay a wide receiver $15 million when the quarterback situation. You don't know what you got.
Barkley, you might tag Barkley.
You're going to have to sign Andrew Thomas. You're going to have to sign Dexter Lawrence. You're going to have to sign Xavier McKinney. You're going to have to sign Julian. There's a lot of other positions that you have to sign. And quarterback is definitely more important than a wide receiver. I'd rather give the quarterback.
And it's good. And as much as I like Slayton, you could find wide receivers in the draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a deep wide receiver.
Like, be honest with yourself. You're telling me you can't find a wide receiver in this year's draft at least?
How experienced is Cincinnati's? How experienced was Cincinnati's wide receiver?
Great point. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, back-to-back draft.
Yeah. How experienced was that? Where did they go last year? How good is that team?
What about Jamar Chase? I mean, what's his name? Jalen Waddle. You saw the impact he's having with Miami, and
Yeah. So experience. There are certain positions where you like to have experience. Receivers, one, I think you can kind of get away with it.
Linebacker, you want some experience.
Yeah.
Secondary, you want some experience.
Yes. Receiver, you could probably get away with it.
Just give me a bunch of fast, athletic guys that can catch the ball.
Can separate, that can catch the ball, make the contested catches.
Right. Make a play
yards after the catch.
Make it easy on your quarterback by getting over.
By the way, we were dead on about Jalen Waddle, bad dog.
Yeah, I love
that guy's insane.
Yeah.
We not that we didn't think we were going to draft him, but we were very high on Jalen Waddle going into that draft. Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. All right, interesting perspective here from an amazing guy. I would bring Shepard back. I love Shepard, but why would you bring him back? The guy's coming off of back-to-back injuries. Why would you bring him back?
If he wants to come back for a league minimum,
for a minimum deal,
like what Slayton did this year.
Yes.
Yeah, if he wants to come back and for something
I
that,
would bring him back for a big deal, not for big money. League minimum, maybe I would consider that.
Yeah, I'd be okay.
And he
with
wants
that.
to come back. He does want to come back. I know that he doesn't want to. He wants to go out on his own terms, which I don't blame him. And he's been great in the locker room. I don't think he gets enough credit for what his presence in the locker room and the influence and the impact he has. But I would not spend big money to bring him back. I don't think he would. I don't think he would look for big money. I think maybe something can be done there, but
he's not going to have a market. Let's be real.
Right? Exactly. And plus, he likes it here. He likes it here. He's
again. If you want to bring him back at a small deal that is incentive laden. And he has to play a certain amount of games or whatever. Okay, but I'm not giving him $10 million a year.
You're giving him league minimum. That's what you're giving him.
You give him $2 or $3 million a year. Yeah, and you hope that he
and you put a split in the contract where if he gets hurt, he gets a lower amount than if he's on the field. So you put the rookie split in there, as they call it. That's another little tactic I don't think a lot of people know about with the cap. You see it more so with rookie deals than you do with veteran deals, but some veterans deals do have a split where if you land on IR, you get maybe half of your salary, as long as it's meeting the minimum for the number of years accrued experience you have. Whereas if you're on the field, maybe you double it or something like that. So that's maybe the type of deal I would do with Slayton. Just a little bit more than a veteran minimum, but with that split to allow it to go down to a minimum if he were to get hurt again. So, but yeah. Let me see. Mike Gorga, is Odell gone or are they working him out tomorrow? Okay, he's not working out. That was reported by the Post. I believe they were at dinner or as of earlier tonight or something. I think that's where they were at.
What do you think Odell ordered?
I don't
Filet
know.
mignon.
Probably.
He's
I-
like a steak guy.
Yeah, somebody. It was pretty funny. License plate guy put up a tweet where he said they're eating dinner or whatever he said, and somebody said I think he's eating pizza, and they showed the photograph of him with the pepperoni pizza with the girl that was doing drugs.
Maybe they did order a pizza. You never know.
Maybe they did.
Hey, that would be there's some good pizza places up there. We used to get pizza. I don't remember the name of the place that the Giants ordered it from, but sometimes they would give us pizza in the media room. It wasn't bad, that pizza.
I wonder if they let him order a large Pepsi instead of a medium.
Funny story. I don't know if they still do this or not, but they used to have a vendor that came in and he used to bring pizza pies all the way from Long Island. There was a place out in Long Island.
I know it. I'm from Long Island. You name the place. I
want to say not grandma's. Oh, it's going to come to me later, but I'll find it, Chris, and I'll let you know. But
you let me know.
But this guy used to bring in all kinds of, and he had gourmet pizzas like buffalo chicken, Hawaiian with the pineapple.
No, you don't do pineapple on pizza.
Ziti on top of pizza, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Pasta pizza. They
pasta
make
pizza.
They make that in upstate New York.
Cacio, I'm going to botch the pronunciation. Cacio e pepe. The where you put spaghetti and you have a cheese and pepper
I've never had
sauce.
that. I've never had that.
I've never seen that.
I like cacio e pepe, but I don't like it on pizza. So I mean,
pizza. They make penne pizza even in upstate New York. They make penne and buffalo chicken pizza. They're not as good as the ones down in the city, but there's some pretty damn good pizza places even up here. New York is known for pizza.
Umberto's?
Yes, Umberto's.
I've been to Umberto's probably 100 times.
Good place.
Umberto's is great pizza. Yeah, they actually the guy Dave Portnoy, I think his name is, from
Barstool,
who does all the pizza reviews. He went there, but
do they do the tomato pie there?
They do a tomato pie, white pie.
That's one of the best.
Yeah,
I think they had a mac and cheese one once. I mean, they would bring in all kinds of fun. It was more so, years ago. Like I want to say about maybe 10 years ago, they used to bring the pizzas in. And one time they brought us back a grandma pie. Oh my gosh. It was one of the best pies I ever had. But just, kind of a little FYI.
And that was our food segment of the show. Pat, by the way, you have all these sponsors on your show. We have to get a food sponsor because then we could feed off of it. And we could talk about food for 20 minutes because we're Italian. We all love talking about food.
Right. Listen, I have a food sponsorship. I mean, it's snack food, but it is ice cream.
Well, I have Built Bar. I mean, Built Bar's not advertising today, but
we got to get like a pizzeria to sponsor the show because then we can talk about all different slices.
Love that. If anybody knows of a local, like a New York pizza, or if anybody out there has a business and you want to sponsor this particular show or the any Locked On Giants show, hit me up.
No, it wants to be this show because I want to talk about pizza.
There you go. And we have to sample it, right?
Yeah. If it comes with a sample, that's all I ask for.
That'd be difficult to get to me, but pizza stays. I mean, that could be okay.
That could be
shipped, frozen pizza, right? Yeah. You can cook it, freeze it, whatever. You send it up here.
I actually like cold pizza.
I can heat it up in the.
My husband does too.
Oven. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
He likes it. I mean, we get the pizza. We don't even put it in the fridge. He just wants to eat it. We leave it out on the counter.
That's
like next day, boom.
Who cares? Leave it on the counter. You're going to heat it up the next day. I like to heat it up because I like my crust crunchy. I want the crunchy crust.
Yes.
Actually, that was part of my cheat day last year. I wanted pizza. I don't know if it was from their show, but I'm getting pizza. So, meatballs and sausage is probably, or meatballs and peppers is my favorite. And jalapenos and bacon. I like that too.
Yes.
My favorite's just Sicilian.
I love Sicilian.
Just a Sicilian.
Love it. Absolutely.
All right.
Matthew.
My mouth is watering. Let's get back to that.
All right. Matthew Lammy asks, coming down for Colts game from Montreal, any recommendations to fully experience MetLife?
There's not much to experience, man.
Well, I mean, you could hit up some tailgates.
Yeah,
I know
that's what you want to do. You want to get
that's
there.
what you probably want to do. You want to probably get there,
Morning.
Actually, Matthew, I'm gonna give you one. I don't know if he follows them. Most people do. If you listen to Giants podcast, but Talking Giants, Justin has a tailgate
Yep.
before every single game. I went there when I went to the Giants game against the Texans. Lot L16. Bunch of great guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to give you much to eat, but if you go this week, they would. They're having a sponsored tailgate against Washington, but go there. But no, yeah, that's what you're going to experience.
Yeah.
So get there 3
And they
4
do
hours
have-
early. Tailgate.
The Giants do have like activities in the plaza level. They have autograph signings and stuff like that. This year they have, celebrity guest DJs that they, try to pump up the pregame mood. I mean, so yeah, there's stuff you can do to kill time. It's just, is the weather going to cooperate? Do you want to sit out there and freeze but yeah, I would say do a tailgate if nothing else.
Yeah,
That's
and make
what
sure you get your medium Pepsi. That is definitely the full. You got to experience that firsthand. It might cost you $9, but you do have to experience the medium Pepsi at MetLife to see.
But if you're a season ticket holder, your whole family won't get it, but you'll get one. One out of
You can
4 will
split
get a
it.
free medium
Yeah,
Pepsi.
ways. You can get like a $15 beer if you choose. That's not bad.
Probably like 17 now. Parking's
Yeah.
about $1,000.
I used to like Pepsi. Now I'm more of a Coke person.
Get rid of the Pepsi. I've never
I-
liked.
I always say now Coca-Cola should sponsor my show.
Coke Zero.
Yeah, always Coke Zero.
Yep.
I love Coke Zero.
My husband likes it too. He does the grocery shopping, so it's like we get the Coke Zero and
I do too.
and the 7-Up Zero. and all
Every
that stuff.
time I go to the grocery store, if I need it or not, I put 3 2-liters in my cart. Every time. My wife goes to the grocery store or Target. Need anything? Yep, soda.
Mhm.
I live on Coke Zero. It cures my sweet tooth. It's big for me. Maintain a low calorie diet, but that stuff. I love it.
And that's what I use it too. When I have a sweet tooth craving, because for 5 years I went out drinking soda, and suddenly I started drinking it again. My husband's like, "Why are you drinking soda again?" I said, "I just have a sweet tooth craving, and if I'm taking Coke Zero, and it's satisfying it."
It is funny. Like some people don't see the zero on it; they just see the red label. Like, "Beth, are you drinking soda?" I'm like, "It's Coke Zero."
Yes,
it's okay.
Yes. All right, I'm looking through the questions here. We got a bunch of stuff on pizza. Yeah. You're gonna get us hungry, guys. Even though I ate earlier, so
I don't eat much during the week, so I'm always, especially the end of the week. I'm
all right.
Until I get to Saturday, and then we're good.
Now, I know T. Gerardo earlier asked about Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale Robinson is on IR. I think T had asked when he was coming back. Let me see. You know what?
ACL, right? He tore his ACL.
Yeah,
he tore his ACL.
He's out for the year, definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely he's
probably going to miss camp. I would imagine he's not going to be.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, guys, let's get back. Let's talk some more about the game coming up. We talked about the run game. The Giants' run game versus their run defense, and vice versa. What do you guys think the X factor is in this game? The thing that nobody's really talking about that the Giants better make sure they cross their I's and dot their T's about.
X factor. I mean, I don't know if he's an X factor. McLaurin's a guy that definitely scares me. But you mentioned it earlier, Dotson against Holmes in the slot. I mean, that could be a big time matchup, but maybe it is Wink's defense. I don't know. I mean, these two teams are mirror images of one another. It really is amazing how they both win their games kind of the same. And, Washington was able to beat Philly. At one point in the third quarter, Washington had 35 minutes of possession to Philadelphia's 6. Yeah. That's what they want to do. That's what we want to do. But I really think Wink's defensive scheme is going to be
DC stole mine. I thought it was going to sound smart, DC. You just stole it from me.
Daniel Bellinger?
That's my X factor. Yeah,
okay.
I think Daniel Bellinger being back in the line, because I think if the Giants are going to win this game, it's going to come down to Saquon being able to run the ball, and obviously Jones is going to have to come up with some crucial third down conversions like he did earlier in the year against the Packers, against the Ravens in big spots. But I think Saquon's going to have a good day running the football, and I think Daniel Bellinger could go a long way towards that. We talked about it earlier in the show, the difference of this lineup has had in terms of yards per carry for when Bellinger's been in there and when he hasn't. He's done a great job as that extra blocker. So if I had to pick an X factor, I'm going to go with him.
Maybe it's Azeez Ojulari.
That's a good
You
one
know,
too.
speaking of which, JDJ just put this up here. I'll put this on the screen here. Getting, finishing when we get close to the quarterback. Why do you guys think the Giants have had so much trouble finishing their pass rushes? I mean, and granted, sacks, you're not going to get a sack on every single play, but and I looked it up earlier because I think I wrote it for one of my articles. The Giants pass rush win rate, I think they're ranked 14th according to ESPN's PRP, which isn't horrible, but what can they do to be better, do you think?
Come under control when you get there. I don't think it's just the Giants. I think a lot of guys see they get the quarterback and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to kill this guy. And they're out of control.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to be a mobile guy. You need to be a guy like Tom Brady. One way. That's all it takes. The guy's coming at you full speed, trying to kill you. You slip this way and he's gone. He's out of the play because by that time the lineman comes over there and knocks him out of there. He's knocked into the backwash, and then the quarterback can step up and have a play. But I think that's part of it. I think the Giants sometimes they get too aggressive going after the quarterback, especially when the quarterback's pumped. They do this. The guy jumps. I was like, just hit the guy. Look at his waist and aim for his waist. Don't look at his head. Don't look at his his feet, whatever. But I think sometimes they do. I think sometimes they're overly aggressive and they end up running right by him. And it just, like I said, because a defensive player can take himself right out of the play if the quarterback just makes a move here and move there. And this day and age, there's a lot of mobile quarterbacks. There's something that wasn't around 30 years ago the way it is now. So even the, guys that are not considered scramblers, like a Taylor Heineke, can definitely make a play with his legs. So I think that's a big part of it. These guys just have to come under control and make sure that they actually finish the play as opposed to trying to drive the guy, 3 feet down into the ground.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. Yeah. Having the pass rush plan, so like you said, a lot of guys are like, oh, wow, I've got this opportunity to make a big play. And then they get overexcited and overthink it.
Yep. And I think with Azeez on the other side, it's going to help a lot.
I think so too. Yeah,
I really do. Because I don't think you're going to be able to double team Kayvon as much as teams have been doing it. They're still going to hold him like they do in every play. But I think having Azeez on the other side, if he's Azeez, and Azeez looked really good in the one game that we saw him this year, he got a sack and he was getting pretty good pressure. I think that's going to help Kayvon. And I think it's just going to help this overall defense.
Thibodeau wasn't in that game either.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was not in the game. And the other X factor I should mention, it's not really an X factor, but in this game, because I don't think the New York Giants, because of our limitations in terms of coverage defensively, could really afford to stack the box in this game as much as I would like kind of how we did against Houston, because Washington's got some talented wide receivers. So I don't think we could overcommit to stop the run, which is going to make it a challenge, I think, to limit Brian Robinson as much as the Giants are going to try. So Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence have to dominate up at the point of attack at the middle of the field. Those two guys are so crucial in this football game in terms of trying to limit Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Definitely. Got to play it smart. But don't feed into their strengths. And it's tough because, like you said, these two teams are almost identical to each other. So.
It is ironic how, but
I just wish we had.
I always say if the Giants can't win the division, I always pull for Washington to win the division.
Yeah.
I don't like Washington, but I don't.
You don't want Dallas or Philly winning it.
Hatred towards that team that I do the other two.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Interesting. I don't know if it's because of the era that I grew up in, and I always respected Joe Gibbs and John Riggins and Gary Clark and Doug Williams.
The Eagles,
Buddy
Dallas.
Ryan. I grew up with Buddy Ryan. I hated Buddy Ryan.
I didn't like Buddy Ryan with the Eagles. I also, like I said, when I've gone to Philly, it's like, But Dallas, what I hated about Dallas is this shoving down the throat of, we're America's team. You ain't my team. I'm part of America. You ain't my team.
The ironic thing about that is they got that. I think it was an NFL Films thing. John Facenda said it, and this was after they lost
to the
Steelers. They lost in '78 to the Steelers, and somehow they got dubbed America's team.
Yeah, not my team. I'm sorry.
No.
All right, Xavier Howard, what do you think of the Giants going after Aaron Rodgers? Hard pass. If you're going to get a new quarterback, get a young guy in and let Brian Dable and Mike Kafka groom him accordingly. Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not giving Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not giving him that kind of money. You've got too many
what
other
Aaron
needs.
He's my age.
Aaron Rodgers do $50 million next year.
Yeah,
and Aaron Rodgers don't look like Aaron Rodgers this year, does he?
Aaron Rodgers might not play again the rest of the year.
Yeah,
So,
I don't want Aaron. I mean, Hall of Fame quarterback, absolutely. But get me if it's not going to be Daniel, get me a young guy.
I'd rather Daniel Jones come back here, okay? But if he's not going to, you're drafting one. You're not paying the quarterback any money.
Jones or a pick. That's it. There's no other options at the quarterback.
Yep, absolutely.
Jones or Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Michael Penix. Did you see that? 485 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, that's my guy. Because Caleb can't come out yet. The Heisman Trophy winner, he has to wait another year.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, I'll give up 4 first-round picks for.
Yeah,
he's that good.
Chris, since last year, I mean, when the guys play for Oklahoma, there's certain guys that I tout immediately. Like Creed Humphrey was another one. Chris will tell you, when Chris and I started working together, and Creed is a freshman at Oklahoma, like that guy's the best center in the country. That guy's amazing. But I was the same thing with Caleb Williams. And the one thing it's not just his physical talent, because he is unbelievably talented. It's there's a game against Kansas. Oklahoma is struggling against Kansas, which they should never struggle against Kansas. Oklahoma's bad this year, but they were stopped. He handed the ball off 4th and 2. Kansas stuffed him at the 50-yard line with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes ago. Caleb Williams went behind the running back, literally ripped the ball out of his own running back's hands to get that extra 2 yards, to get the first down and win the game. I said, that is a true freshman that made that play. That was smart enough to say, my running back's in trouble, man. We're going to not get the 4th down. Give me the ball. I'm going to get the first down. It was little things like that. I'm like, man, this kid he has it.
Yeah.
He's good.
And he's got all the tools. He is good. Yeah, he's really good.
He's good.
All right. T. Gerardo, I've been under the rock with a tooth canal. Is Bellinger going to play? Yes, trending in that direction. And sorry to hear that you're not feeling well with the root canal. You got to see my dentist. Last time I had a root canal done by my dentist, man, I didn't feel it. I felt great afterwards.
We need a couple.
Even after the stuff wore off, the Novocaine wore off, it was like
I could understand saying you felt all right, but I
felt great. My dentist
that
was
good. Like you were in like a good mood.
I was in a
after
good
getting a root canal?
dentist. The dentist I go to is phenomenal.
He must have given you some really good drugs.
Just Novocaine. Once that wore off, I felt fine. I didn't have to take Advil. I didn't have to take anything.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing.
I gotta start going to your dentist.
The first time I had a root canal, that dentist did a massive butcher job on my teeth. But the second one I did with the dentist I go to now, that guy's fantastic. I'm like, why wasn't I going to him years ago?
We need, as Carl Banks had called them, we need a couple of root canal drives against Washington. Those ones that are like 8-9 minutes and you just smash them in the mouth and wear them down physically. I'm pretty sure that's what he used to call those. They were root canals, and the Giants needed a couple of those against Washington, because the team that wears down. I mean, the team that wins in the trenches is winning this game, in my opinion. So we got to win up front on both sides of the ball. These two teams are very, very similar. So I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Yeah. All right, here's an interesting idea from SR92007. Giants need to use the tight ends in the end zone. I think maybe you mean the red zone too, like they did with Shockey, Larry Donnell era. Bellinger is way better than Kyle Rudolph, and he's young and hungry and can catch. I'd have to look it up, but how many times? I don't think we've seen Bellinger used in the red zone a whole lot, have we?
Oh, he had a couple of receiving touchdowns. Then he had one running touchdown where it was a designed pass and it wasn't open and he ran it in. So I think he has 3.
He's got 2 red zone because one of the
Let me see
receiving.
if I can find it here.
The one receiving was like 40 yards because.
Okay.
Here, I found it. Let me see.
It was an RPO where Jones hit him.
Let's see, receiving. All right, so I found Fantasy Pros. Let me see if I can find Daniel.
Myrick has a red zone.
I do think they will.
Daniel Bellinger has been targeted 4 times in the red zone, caught 3 for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, you're right.
The second one was in the red zone? I thought it was over 30 yards. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
No. I said he caught 3 of 4 targets,
Yeah.
31 yards total, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
And
he
he
only
ran
has
for-
3
and he ran
He
for a
also had
touchdown.
he also had a rushing
Wow.
touchdown inside the red zone.
I thought that other one was longer than 20 yards. I guess it wasn't. The second one.
Well,
that
if
he had.
it was longer than 20 yards, Chris, it wouldn't be in the red zone then.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I thought it was, but it must have not been.
They
Yeah.
did use him, but he's a perfect guy. You're on the 5-yard line or the 3. That's
Yeah.
a perfect time to run one of those play action passes to Daniel Bellinger, where he acts like he's going to block and then he slips out into the corner and he's wide open. I mean, Chris mentioned, I think he said he's going to be an X factor. Maybe you said it, Patty, but he will be. Daniel Bellinger will be a big part of this because, again, it's his eye, so it's not like it's a muscle thing that he's got to worry about. So I don't think that it's going to limit his snap count. Maybe he's got to get his football endurance. I mean, that is something. But if you're going to limit his snap count, I'm definitely bringing him in on critical third downs where we got to convert or in the red zone. I think that's where he's going to be most effective. And I think that's where we'll use him much, especially in jumbo packages. But I'd like to see some of that RPO. I'd like to see that on 3rd down and 2, where you bring in the jumbo package and Washington's like, oh, here comes Barkley, and Jones tucks it in there and takes off that way for 40 yards.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, those are the Giants' weapons on offense.
Yeah.
It's Barkley and it's Jones, and that's it.
Yeah. And you know what? If they could just get, another good tight end to complement Bellinger, and I do think that's going to be on the wish list for next year. But I mean, they got to build that position up, I think, a little bit more as well as the receivers, obviously. So, a lot of work still to be done for Joe Shane, and but some good core pieces in place that are going to.
We're going to get there.
It's going to take time, but they've got some good core pieces in place. All right, guys, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, more of your questions, more about the game Sunday. Don't go anywhere. This episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Audible. Audible is releasing a slate of new football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love. That's why you'll be able to find Blocked Forever available as a bonus episode on Locked On NFL right now. Blocked Forever is a brand new podcast from former NFL All-Pro Ryan Khalil, who takes the conversation about football to the next level. Khalil sits down with star players, coaches, and former pros across the league to get real about what happens on the field and behind the scenes. New episodes of Blocked Forever will be recorded and released every week ahead of Thursday Night Football. So head on over today to Locked On NFL for a sneak peek of Blocked Forever, or catch the full series available anywhere you get your podcasts. Audible, get in the game. Hey, everybody. Thanks for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast, live with Traina, Tainah, and the dog.
All right. I'm digging that. I like the way in that first ad that you did. I forgot what you said, but you looked into the camera real serious at the end of it. You were like, it was good. It was very good.
You know what? I did on Tuesday. When did I tape all my ads? I think I taped them on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I just was on a roll. I was just knocking out one after, because I like to do all my ads in one shot if I can. And I just got into a groove, and it's funny because
Hopefully Daniel Jones gets into a groove.
Oh my gosh. And I'm not, if it's not obvious by now, I sometimes struggle in front of the camera. Like, I'm not a natural, but I'm getting there. I think I'm a lot better than when I first was.
You're great.
First time I'll tell you a real quick story. Do you remember back in the day, the Giants used to have a program where they would have beat writers on? I forget what it was called, Giants Extra or something like that. Do you remember the program I'm talking about? It used to be on the their website. Bob Papa used to host it, and they'd have Giant beat writers on it.
Okay.
Whatever the name was. But anyway, the first time they asked me on it, I was so petrified and so nervous. And I've never had this happen to me ever. But I remember before I had to go on, I'm sitting, I had to go through hair and makeup and all that stuff. And then I was just getting so nervous that I went in the bathroom. I thought I was going to be sick to my stomach. I was that nervous and that uptight. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I remember sitting there on set, and I got through it. I got through it fine. But I was like so stiff. I was like, I didn't move. I was like this. I didn't move. And my segment was like 5 minutes, which thank God it was only 5 minutes. But after it was done, and I still laugh about it because I've never been that nervous before. And I've done recitals. When I was younger, I used to play music recitals with my guitar. I've been in school plays. I've obviously done radio spots. I'm doing videos every day. That was like the most nervous I have ever been.
Bob Papa seems to be like the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, he's wonderful. They're all so, but that was so funny because it's when I got married, it was funny because everybody's like, "Oh, you're nervous because you're getting married?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah, that was definitely the most nervous I'd ever been.
Not me.
It was that
not
day,
me. I just.
But I can tell you this: I loosened up a little bit because I'll never forget this. The photographer, he said to me, he goes, well, she showed up. So that's a good thing. Because, when you're the groom, you're stuck in the back with your groomsman, your best man, whatever. She obviously makes the grand entrance. So I'm thinking to myself at that point, I'm like, somebody relax me. Because my buddy had gotten married before. He goes, he's like, don't worry about it. Nobody's looking at you. Good point. Good point. Nobody is looking at me. I'm already up there. She's got to walk down that long, because the church was huge. So she had to walk down that long, and it kind of dipped down. So I'm like, yeah, nobody's looking at me. I'm fine. But
on my Instagram account, I have a picture of me walking down the aisle with my dad walking me down. And I was just so chill. I'm just like, yeah, all right. I'm just doing this,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's what I would think somebody would be the most. That's a big decision. So it's,
Yeah. No,
here we are many decades later at this point.
Yeah, me too. Now it's funny. My husband and I kind of joke around. Whenever we see a couple getting married, I'll yell out, "Sucker!"
That's what I do. It's the same thing. I'm like, "Oh, you're getting married? What a sucker you are! Who does that?"
No,
I always tell the DJ,
seriously,
can you play Another One Bites the Dust for me?
We're going to discourage Chris here from getting married. Seriously, folks, I'm happily married.
I'm getting divorced already. I'm not even married. Based on what you were saying.
Oh gosh. All right. JC asks, keep hearing people criticize DJ as never going to be a guy. Oops, I lost the screen here. Never going to be a guy to elevate subpar talent around him, and then never hear evidence of a quarterback who did. Eli Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. But anyway, every quarterback that has had a number one or good O-line. All right. I think at this point in his career, Daniel Jones is a guy you can win with.
Yeah.
Is he a guy that you can win without? Probably. Yeah. You want to get him to the point where you could say, look, if we don't have him in the lineup, we're screwed.
Well, that was last year.
You can kind of make the case now that that's the case.
If there are some people I just don't like it. I have been way up here on him, way down here on him, way up here. I always say I'm an EKG machine when it comes to Daniel Jones, because he shows these flashes like, man, he can play. And then it's like, what are you doing? Like, how do you, what is that? So it's just, it's weird, but I've always thought he had the physical talent. This year, I think he's taken a major step forward.
Yeah.
But there's some people that just don't like it. Like, oh, we got to start Tyrod Taylor. No, you don't. Tyrod Taylor's not winning with his team.
No,
he's not winning with this team. So we have talked about this before, Chris and I. Put Jalen Hurts on the Giants. Mm-hmm. You think that the Giants are 10-1?
No.
Like the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, you think that Jalen Hurts is the reason the Eagles are 10-1? You don't think it has something to do with A.J. Brown? You don't think it has something to do with the best offensive line in football or one of them? I mean, come on.
Second year in the scheme.
This is the hard thing with Daniel Jones, is we don't know what he can be if he actually had talent, because he's never had it. John Mara even came out and said that we gave him nothing.
Yeah. We have given his kid up every way possible.
We have put him in the worst situation possible. which
And
is why I want him back here. And at the beginning of the year, I would have never said that. But the way to me, he's shown growth here.
And he's so respected too in the locker room.
And rightfully so. I mean,
there's intangibles there that I didn't see his.
The guy comes in on his day off to work out and watch film. He really, look, there have been quarterbacks that have come through that locker room that they were in it for, let's say, the wrong reasons. And they didn't put the time in. They didn't put the work in. They just felt like, okay, look, I was good enough to get here and that's good enough. Yeah, you did enough to get to this point, but you have to do more to stay at where you're at.
I just would like to know the quarterback that could elevate Richie James and David Sills and
that's the thing. And I saw I'm trying to see in the chat. I think it's BLK front. I can't pronounce it, but he said the inconsistency is frustrating, but he is a good quarterback. And
I agree. I totally agree. With
Here's what I'm going to say about Daniel Jones. Up until this year, I think he's been consistent for the most part. He's been as consistent as you could hope for.
The Detroit game, he wasn't very good.
He wasn't. Yeah. But overall for the year, everybody's going to have a bad game here.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's very hard based off of what he's been provided with for any quarterback to be consistent. Like, what has this guy been provided with? He's been provided with 3 different schemes in 4 years. His situation's inconsistent. So what do you expect from the quarterback?
Right. He's not to mention how many wide receivers have come and gone? How many wide receivers have been injured? What is his offensive line? What is the anchor that outside of Andrew Thomas? Who has he got? How many different
first year he's had Saquon Barkley, as far as I'm concerned, start to finish.
Right.
He hasn't had the real Saquon Barkley before this year.
Not until this year.
Yep. Yeah.
Barkley was out the entire last season in 2000 when Daniel Jones' rookie season, his first game, he had a high ankle sprain.
And here's the other thing. We keep talking about, possibly, and here comes, and this kind of piggybacks off this question here from JDJ about any chance we are enticed to move up for a quarterback prospect, or has Jones proven to this regime that he's the guy? Where are they going to be drafting? Number one.
Yeah.
All right. When you say, well, we don't make the playoffs, that means they're probably going to be drafting, you would think, in the low teens, I would think, given the record. I don't, a lot of people are acting like this is it, that next year's draft is the only one you can get a quarterback if you need it. I don't think that's the case, guys.
A lot of the quarterbacks that were bigger names that people are talking about have not looked. CJ Stroud does not look impressive to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Bryce Young probably is the best, but even Bryce Young, I feel like, is taking a step back this year. But I always talk about how there's certain guys that just climb up the board. Like Joe Burrow was that guy. Nobody knew Joe Burrow until that last year at LSU. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, for me, that guy is Michael Penix. In Indiana, he was good. In Washington, the way that guy throws the ball, he's mobile. It's just a flick of the wrist. I just really like him. He's kind of, again, I'm no scout. I'm just a dude that watches football and go, hey, I like this guy. But I've never been a big fan of Will Levis. To me, Hendon Hooker is a scheme quarterback where Tennessee just runs up to the line of scrimmage and they have 11 plays. And they check hey, go over here, run the fire hydrant, and then run to the car. I'm going to hit you.
Yeah. It's a hurry-up offense, too. They run a play every 5
That's what I mean. That's not an NFL offense.
The stats are inflated.
But my point is that this, everybody's acting like, oh, my God, if the Giants don't get a quarterback in next year's draft, that's it. There'll be other opportunities.
Right. See, the way I look at it is for everybody, because a lot of people are saying it. I see it all over Twitter. Listen, if he feels there's a Josh Allen in this draft, get him. Okay, At the end of the day, that's your job. If that's your guy, if you're willing to put your job on the line, go up and get the guy. But here's my mindset on the situation.
Don't force it.
Don't force it. And if you're going to swing for the fences, if you're going to take that shot, we're all talking about how bad of a situation Daniel Jones is in. What the hell do you think that quarterback's going to inherit?
If you're going to have to give up future capital, so you're not going to be able to build around it.
First-round picks.
Thank you.
You're not bringing back Saquon Barkley. He's going to look around the roster. You're going to be like, I had better receivers at Tennessee. Yep. Like I had better receivers at Washington State. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so that's my mindset on the quarterback situation.
Yep.
If you're going to take that big swing, if you're going to take that lottery ticket, You wait until you're a team like the Kansas City Chiefs when they had Travis Kelce and they had Tyreek Hill.
And they were making the playoffs on top.
They're making the playoffs 4 straight years. They go 12-4. All right, let's give up our future first-round pick, our second-round pick. Let's take the swing for Mahomes. Like the 49ers did with Trey Lance. We got George Kittle. We got Brandon Ayuk. We've got Deebo Samuel.
Mhm.
We've got dogs on this team.
You got Bosa
I
as well.
can
The other
take
side
this
of
shot.
the ball.
We're going to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, for God's sakes. We have a full roster. The Giants have a Swiss cheese roster. They got holes all over this team.
Yeah.
What are we doing? I'm not trading future first-round picks.
Right. When you're in the first year, when you're in the first year of a rebuild, you don't want to mortgage your future because
Bingo.
where are you going from there? Like you said, Chris,
Exactly.
if everyone's saying Daniel Jones has no talent, where the hell is the talent coming from if we're giving up future first-round picks to get a quarterback in there? What is that quarterback going to have?
Exactly. You know,
The
it's like I
quarterback
always
can
say,
only do so much.
yes, you have to prepare and have a team around that quarterback. You just can't take a quarterback and say, okay, do it, and not give him an offensive line, not give him receivers, not give him a running game or a defense.
We've talked about the contracts with Daniel Jones. I'm not giving Daniel Jones 7 years, $230 million. But if you can give him a 3 or 4 year deal and get out after 2, if he just goes backwards, that's what you do.
That's bingo.
That's what you do.
Yep, absolutely.
And Daniel Jones, listen, if somebody wants to give him 7 years, $200 million, okay, we have to draft a quarterback then.
Yeah, or you sign a stopgap. But you
use Tyrod Taylor as your stop, whatever.
Yeah, but no, I think that if it's me, again, I don't know how Joe Shane feels about the quarterbacks in this class. If Joe Shane feels that Anthony Richardson or insert Will Levis and he could go up and get that guy as the next Josh Allen, do it. If you feel that this guy's a once-in-a-4 draft quarterback, do it. But if you are not convinced of that, you bring Jones back, you sign him on a short contract, you give him fair market value, $24 million, but you structure it in a way where you could get out after a year or two.
You front load it.
If things go south.
Which is how I believe they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're going to do. And it makes sense. So this sense of urgency to get a quarterback, in the scouting academy, one of the questions we have to answer when we do our breakdowns of quarterbacks, is this a guy that the team can win with?
Right.
And if you can say yes, then the next question is, can they win without him? Well, we saw what happened last year when the Giants didn't have Daniel Jones, right?
Yeah,
we know what happened last year.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, maybe, Daniel's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen, but I don't know that I would say he's garbage either. Like some people have suggested to me. So
he's not Sam Darnold.
No,
he's not garbage.
He's not Mitch Trubisky.
No,
he's not garbage.
He's not garbage. He's a serviceable quarterback.
Right. He's in the middle of the pack.
He's in the middle of the pack, and sometimes
more. By the way, he could evolve to be more.
Yeah.
People bring that up to me. They say, "Well, why would you give Jones $24 million when you could give Marcus Mariota $13 million?" Well, simple answer. One, the guy's well respected in the locker room. He's familiar with the offense. He's coming back year 2. The wide receivers have experience playing with him. And 2, his ceiling is a hell of a lot higher than a guy like Marcus Mariota. I know what Marcus Mariota is. Daniel Jones he's never played in the same offense outside of the one from the Stone Age with Jason Garrett for 2 years.
Yep.
And Garrett was gone half the year anyway.
Yeah, he's got the tools. The guy could run. He's got a strong enough arm.
He's tall. He can see over the line of scrimmage.
I'll take my chances with him. I'll give him the extra $10 million because he knows the offense with his upside. It's not like you're committing for 5 years. You're committing for 1. Like these fans act like you're strapping yourself and you're killing your cap space if you commit 1 year to the guy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry I get emotional. I get into it. I get an argument.
You're a fan, baby. That's what we do.
That's what you do, man. That's what makes you you. All right, Papa Guzzo wants to know how many more wins will the Giants get? He's predicting 3. I had the Giants at 8-9 at the start of the season. I will say I could see them going to 9 wins, 10 wins if it falls the right way. I don't know that they'll go to 11.
I
think
got
it
him at
comes-
9. I want to say 10, but I got him at 9.
I got him at 8 for sure.
Well,
9 best case
The
scenario.
last week of the season is a big question mark because if Philly has this, if they beat Dallas again,
Philly could sit
and
most
they
of their
have
guys.
this thing wrapped up, again, nothing would please Philadelphia more and the fans more to say, oh, let's knock the Giants out of the playoffs. But at the same time, they try to do that. And Jalen Hurts is in there in the third quarter and he pulls a hamstring, or he gets hit wrong and he really hurts his ankle or sprains his foot or whatever. And then they lose the first round of the playoffs because you decided you were going to try to win a meaningless game against your rival. When you probably think to yourself, when we're healthy, we know we can beat this team. So what's the harm of letting them in the playoffs? So you never know. If Philadelphia has this thing, they're not undefeated anymore. They have nothing to play for. If they have the number 1 seed wrapped up, that could be a gimme. That could be, you know what, we're going to play Jalen Hurts on our guys for a quarter or a half, and then we're setting them out. It's like a preseason game.
Yeah.
The Giants have to beat their backups, which may not be easy because Philadelphia is a very good team. They do have good depth.
Yeah.
But that looms large.
Yeah.
You don't know what Philadelphia is going to do if they're in that situation. But that is a game where maybe they just say, you know what, the risk is not worth the reward. Let's just sit our guys. If the Giants beat our backups and they go to the playoffs, oh, well, we'll handle them when we have to handle them.
Yeah.
The sweetest thing in the world would be for them to let us in, and then we beat their ass in the playoffs and knock them out.
I'm going to tell you why I think we're getting 9 games, at least. Jeff Saturday couldn't coach himself out of a paper bag. Jeff Saturday.
He's won, though.
He doesn't know how to use timeouts. You see that game this past week on
I
prime
did.
time? 30 seconds left. He's got 3 timeouts. He's using them all in the bag. So I'm going to tell you right now, Brian Dable's going to outcoach him. We're going to beat the Indianapolis Colts. And all I ever hear from Washington fans is how bad of a job Ron Rivera does. Well, Brian Dable's going to outcoach him at least once. We're going to get the 9 wins. And I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win this
I
week.
could see us splitting with Washington. We're even.
Yeah.
And they really
I hope
are
they
even.
split with Washington.
We got to win this first one, right? We win the first one, then the next one's gravy if we're able to beat them. We're playing with house money at that point. But we have to protect our home field. And like Chris said, Washington has not had a bye. So they're tired. We want to get them while they're tired, while they're, beat up. Not that they have a ton of injuries, but they're not 100%. They haven't rested. Because now they're going to have rest in between the games. Like Chris said, we're playing Philadelphia, so that's going to be a war. And they're going to have an extra week to prepare for a team that they just played. So they're going to have and it's in FedEx Field, whatever that place is called now. So I was going to call it RFK. That tells you how old I am. So they'll have the major advantage the second meeting. So Chris, I think mentioned this last week. This is a must win. If you want to get the playoffs, must win.
They're all must wins, but this one is you lose this one and it's done. You're done.
And it's why it's so important for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley this game. So important for those two. They got to win this game. They got to win this game.
Yep.
That was the video I made at the beginning of the week. I said those two guys got to step up because they've been the guys that have had big games against Washington. There are really only hope, against Washington. Daniel Bellinger is certainly going to help. Hopefully Darius Slayton kicks his stomach thing and he's 100% ready to go because we're going to need him too. It'd be great if Kenny Galladay could anytime. Kenny, time's running out, Kenny.
I think that ship has sailed.
Come on, Kenny. I still believe, damn it.
You're like Forrest Gump. You're like Forrest Gump. You just keep running. You're like, you keep running.
You might be the only one that believes. Oh, goodness. All right. Survivor Sam wants to know, how does he, being Daniel Jones, in your eyes compared with Mayfield? Not that he's a fan of Baker Mayfield. You know what? I'll be honest with you. When Baker was coming out of school and in that draft, I was praying that the Giants would take him. I was not a fan of Baker Mayfield's coming out, when he was coming out of that draft.
I loved Baker Mayfield.
I did. There was something about Baker. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't he smallish for a quarterback?
Yeah, he's like 5'11", maybe.
Yeah. There was just too many things about him that I thought, nah, I don't know if I want him on this team.
I always liked Baker's moxie. I always felt like he was. Sometimes it worked against him.
Yeah.
In fact, he's a little. I think he's a little too tough. Sometimes he would take unnecessary hits. But the way he played at Oklahoma, I always thought he was a gamer. I thought he had a lot of heart. I felt like he was a leader there, and I felt like he did have really good skill. I thought he could overcome the diminutive size. There has been quarterbacks like Drew Brees. He wasn't
Right. Doug Flutie.
Right, Doug Flutie. I thought Baker Mayfield was going to be very good, and maybe that's my Oklahoma Sooner bias. I don't know, because I also thought Kyler Murray would be a superstar, and Kyler Murray can't stay healthy, and Kyler Murray is too worried about playing Call of Duty or whatever he does. Kyler Murray just, again, it's here with him.
Yeah.
It's here. He's got all the skill in the world, but he just, some guy, you can't put.
So it's that X factor, and just
those are
with Baker.
intangibles that don't measure out in the draft or
Yeah.
the combine.
Yeah.
I
just remember.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just remember at that combine, I went to Baker's podium, and just I can't put my finger on what it was, but there was just things about him that just turned me off. And
He's an ass.
He
to me, that's what it is.
Baker Mayfield is like the Conor McGregor of the NFL. Like Conor McGregor.
Go ahead. What's this? It was like, I don't begrudge a person for being confident, but I just felt like there was almost like an arrogance there that I was like,
absolutely.
where's this coming from? What have you done?
He was a walk on. So I feel the fact that nobody really gave him a chance in college, and he walked on and ended up being the first pick in the draft. I'm pretty sure he won the Heisman Trophy. I could be wrong with. I thought he did win it, but he was, honestly, the 2017 Oklahoma should have at least went to the final. Their defense completely blew that game in the Rose Bowl, which was heartbreaking to me. But I don't know. I felt like his attitude would actually help him in the NFL, but it obviously worked against him. So, it is what it is. But I think Daniel Jones is a much better student.
He's got a better
leader.
I don't think Baker. I think the thing that bothered me most about Baker was I didn't think he would survive in New York, because
he wouldn't have.
He would not have survived. You saw out in Cleveland how he was clapping back at trolls and media reports and stuff like that. Can you imagine if he had come to New York?
It would have been like Phillip Rivers coming here. Phillip Rivers would have never succeeded here.
What about Baker Mayfield? To me, he's all bark and no bite. Like, and listen, I fell for it too, because I like that too. I liked his. Well, I bought into the leadership thing. I bought into his personality and so on and so forth. And obviously, he had a successful rookie year. But when you watch Baker Mayfield, like, I could tell you what I think Daniel Jones is above average at. I think Daniel Jones is above average in terms of deep ball accuracy. I think Daniel Jones is above average in terms of, being able to run the football. He sells the fake very well. What does Baker Mayfield do from a physical standpoint that's above average? I can't tell you. I don't think he does anything that's above average.
No.
I think Joe Burrow is what people thought Baker Mayfield was going to be. Joe Burrow was that guy that came out of nowhere in college that didn't really have anything that jumped off the page in terms of elite arm strength. He went number 1 overall, but he's the real deal, and Mayfield isn't. There's nothing about Mayfield to me that I'm like, oh my God, that guy needs to be. No, the guy to me he's a backup. I don't even think he's a starter in the NFL. I don't even think they're comparable. I think Daniel Jones is a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield.
But listen, to be fair, Baker didn't have the best situation. When they did shore up the run game around him and got him a better offensive line, he was much better. But then he dealt with a lot of injuries, and that's part of the problem. But then, he clashed with the coaches. Cleveland's been a disaster for years. Anyway, we know that. So, but yeah, I thought Baker was going to be really good, and he ended up being really bad.
Yeah.
So, it is what you never know. Maybe listen, it took Geno Smith 9 years. So I'm not saying Baker's career is over. Maybe Baker matures and realizes, hey, I got to get my crap together here. I have to change my personality. I got to be about the team first, not me. I can't berate my coaches or teammates on social media. Maybe he grows up, maybe he doesn't. But I think that would go a long way in him succeeding if he did grow up.
I'll say this much: his Progressive commercials were pretty darn good. Give him that.
He still makes commercials.
I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I still see him making commercials.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how about we get Daniel Jones a couple of commercials?
Daniel Jones, I don't know. I don't know if he's got the personality to do it.
Danny Dollars, why not?
Danny Dollars. That's my headline. Don't be stealing that now.
I'm going to steal it.
Of course you're going to steal it. You better give me credit when you take it. Somebody's going to steal it, and I'm not going to get credit for it. But anyway,
that's the internet. That's social media.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
We'll take a few more because I know you guys got to go jump and do your show. You're going to these two knuckleheads are going to do another 2+ hours on the Giants.
We love the Giants.
Hey, I love it. That's why I have you guys on here. Are you kidding? I love the live shows. I look forward to it. It's that and Twitter Tuesday are my 2 favorite shows of the week. If I'm being honest.
We have a lot. I've always had a lot of fun coming on here.
We have a blast. We talk about food, pizza, right. Dentist stuff. I mean,
right. Marriage.
Marriage. There you go. We try and mix it up. So, All right. Mark W wants to know, should we expect a better running game with Evan Neal and Bredesen back? All right, Mark, I don't think Bredesen is going to be back this week. I have a feeling it's going to be Nick Gates at left guard. But to answer your question, Daniel Bellinger is going to make a difference in the running game. They have missed him. Yeah. I'd have to find that tweet that I put out that Chris mentioned earlier.
I'll find it right now.
Okay, yeah, find it and I'll pop it on the screen. I
put out something today or yesterday, I think.
I think it was yesterday. I might have put it because I think I was working on something.
Yeah.
I was working on it, and if you find it, I'll put it on the screen. I had numbers that I said it, but to your point, Evan Neal, yes, will make a difference. Bredesen, I don't think is going to play. I think it's going to be Nick Gates at left guard. John Feliciano, I think, is going to be the center. But Bellinger is the one who's going to make the big difference.
I don't think there's any denying.
There it is.
Saquon Barkley's production went down when the Giants lost Neal and Bellinger.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that had a lot more to do with it than.
Here I'm going to add the tweet that I put up here. Yeah, here's the tweet. The Giants average 173.4 yards per game with him, 112 yards without him. That's quite the swing.
I'd say so. And that's not a limited sample size. He missed like 4 games.
Yeah.
So that's there's something behind that.
And the with him, I think I counted the Jaguars game because he did play most of that game as I recall. So I did allow for that.
I think Dallas is a tough defense. We know that. But I think where we really missed those guys against Detroit. Detroit's not a good run defense.
Yes.
Detroit doesn't have a good defense, but they were able to shut him down. And I think that's really where their absences showed up. The fact we could not run the ball against Detroit, which was surprising to me. Mm-hmm. That's why I expected maybe more of Daniel Jones in that game, but we didn't see it. And Dallas is tough anyway.
Yeah.
I don't like them, but let's give them credit. That's a damn good team.
Yeah, they are.
They're a good team.
Dallas is really good.
That's why
their uniforms are so ugly, though. I can't.
Ugly. That's why I'm curious to see if they do sign Odell, where's he going to fit in? I mean,
he'd be the number 3. I think you got Gallup, obviously.
You got Gallup, you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got what's the other kid's name?
Brown.
Noah Brown, yeah.
Where exactly would Odell fit in?
CeeDee Lamb I knew he was going to be good.
I mean, Odell's not going to be number 1.
Buffalo's probably a better fit for him, honestly, in terms of getting targets.
And I just don't know how Buffalo's going to. They'd have to clear out space because I'm pretty sure. Let me see what Buffalo.
Listen, you know how we talked about it earlier, how you can't just bring in Odell Beckham because he's a fan favorite. I mean, it's a business. You're trying to win games.
Oh, yeah.
That is something that Jerry Jones does do. You don't really think about the big picture winning. He's like, I just want more attention.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's going to give me more attention, since especially the New York market's focused on Odell Beckham?
Yep.
And let's steal him and just bring him to Dallas because that's what we do. We haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. Let's bring Odell Beckham here just because of his name. That is what Dallas does.
And to the person who mentioned before, yes, the Bills did restructure a contract, so they have $2.349 million in cap space. Yeah. So the Giants have 2.5. The Bills have 2.3 and the Cowboys have 6.3. So it could be done, but you got to be creative with how you do it. So I don't know. I don't know
how creative Dallas's front office are. I do know that the guys that we got from Philadelphia and Buffalo Both of those franchises are creative with the cap, as we know. So Buffalo could be creative. We could be creative. I don't know what.
Well, little spoiler alert. When I put together the contract for Odell, I actually looked at what Buffalo has done with contracts of similar nature and what Philly has done, because who's in the front office and where did they come from?
Yep.
The GM comes from Buffalo, the assistant GM from Philly. Those two teams, their cap management has been tremendous.
Yep.
So whenever I'm looking to put together a contract, that's where I go to look. It's what has Buffalo done and what has Philly done? And I just, put together what I think makes sense given the cap parameters, given the research, doing, comparisons with other players, similar players. It's complicated, guys. I mean, I spent all morning to put that spreadsheet together. It's like,
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
It's funny because normally around 11:30, I'm like bugging my husband. I'm like, what do you want to do for lunch? Well, here it is. It's 12:30 and I'm still working on it. And I totally lost track of the time. And finally he comes down because I had gotten a package. So he comes down and goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm got my face buried in my computer and I'm like, I'm working on a cap contract here. He goes, you must be. He says, you know what time it is? And I looked at my watch. I said, oh my God, it's 12:30. He goes, yeah, it's lunchtime. So I was like, okay. But yeah, these cap things take a while. And then I must have done about 4 different versions of that one. So, because you've got to go back, you got to make sure your numbers are right. You've got to, okay, what's realistic, what makes sense, what incentives, what vehicles. There's just so much that goes into it. And I know I keep saying that, maybe I'll do a show on this. Maybe one day I'll just, do a live show.
Sounds like the show will take you 24 hours.
Right.
It probably would. It probably would. And I don't think I have enough examples.
I've done 24-hour live streams. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, Patty. You got this.
You think so, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
I talk about a variety of different things in 24 hours, but I mean, the cap, yeah, why not?
Oh my god!
One thing I do wish, I wish we were in the situation where we could take Odell Beckham. I wish we were in that situation where it made sense to bring him in. He was like a remaining piece. We had cap flexibility.
We're not though.
No, we're not. We're not.
Yeah.
Not even close to that situation.
Yeah, I mean, but you never know. Look, one thing I've learned is you never say never.
Yeah. There's obviously a chance. Like somebody said it earlier in the chat, they wouldn't run him in if there wasn't a chance. I don't think,
in all honesty, if there wasn't a chance, would both sides be wasting their time meeting with each other?
Giants are playing chess. Yeah. Joe Shane and Brandon Brown are playing chess. Let's bring him in here. Let's bring him in here and drive up the price so Dallas takes him.
That's what I think it is. I think
that's what I think.
$28 million deal. Let's saddle.
I think they're both using each other. I think Odell's using the Giants and the Giants are using Odell to drive up the price on Dallas.
Yeah. And that's what they went to dinner about. Let's drive up the price on Dallas. And in 2 years, you can come back here and win a ring when we're ready to go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what the dinner was. And
I like these conspiracy theories. This is funny. Oh, you guys are evil with these conspiracy theories.
I just don't like Dallas.
I know. I've learned that about you. It's like it's funny. My husband was joking. He says, should I put up a Dallas sign on your backdrop for your live show? I said, dog will walk off the program.
Well, listen, I give the Eagles a lot of crap. Like I give the Eagle fans and Eagles a lot because I don't like them either. But I always want Eagle fans to know I detest Dallas too. It's not my hatred just focuses on Philadelphia because I feel like they're our natural rival in this division, and I feel like Eagle fans and Giants fans are very similar.
Well, they've also had the Giants number. Both teams, Dallas and Philly, have had
Dallas
the Giants
is just different to me. Like Philly's that blue collar, tough. Philly and New York are similar. Dallas is way over there. It's like Dallas is nothing like the Dallas fans are nothing like the Philly and New York fans. So I give Philly a lot of crap, but I always want Philly fans to know I hate Dallas just as much as I hate you guys. I just never discussed.
Who do you hate more?
Philly by like that much.
Oh yeah, it's Eagles.
It's not much. The reason I hate Philly more is because they've won more recently. I mean, Dallas is like a distant memory. Like if I want to watch a Dallas Super Bowl, I gotta break out my VHS player and I can pop one in.
It's true.
Gas was like 90 cents a gallon the last time they won it.
You got to listen to it on a Walkman or watch it on a VCR.
I say it
way it
all the
works.
time. Last time Dallas won anything, I wasn't even legally old enough to drink. I'm going to be 47 years old in July. Wrap your mind around that one, Cowboy fans. All right, I'm done talking trash.
The last time the Dallas Cowboys won a Super Bowl, you had to dial. If you picked up the phone, you knocked yourself off the internet. You had dial up AOL.
Oh, I love it. Now it's like this Dallas, right?
Oh yeah.
They swept us. We might as well. That's all we can do. They won on the field. So
The only thing I could say is the last time they won a Super Bowl, I think I was single and still in college.
Yeah,
And I've been out of school for a long time.
Yeah.
When was the last time they won a Super Bowl?
95.
The 95.
Yeah.
season, yeah.
Actually, no, I just graduated college,
Yeah.
but I definitely was single at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I've been
95.
married now for almost 21 years. So it's been a
95.
while.
That was a bad year.
Yeah.
95.
Yeah. Oh gosh. All right, guys. I know you got a show you got to jump to. So as always, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this Thursday
We got to do
night.
score predictions.
Oh yeah, we got to do the score. That's right. See, I always try and slip it by you, but Chris,
I know
you
you
always
do.
keep me honest. All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
26-21. Giants. I think the Giants are going to win. I think they're going to come out prepared. And I think they're actually going to have a pretty good offensive performance. I think 4 extra days to prepare plays a factor. I think the fact that I think Washington's running a little bit on fumes. You saw it last week. They started to revert back to the Washington we saw maybe the first 4 or 5 weeks. Should have lost to Atlanta at home against Marcus Mariota. I think they're a little tired going into this game. I think the Giants take advantage of it at home in a must-win game. And I do think the Giants come out victorious. Saquon Barkley has a big game, 120 yards, and the Giants win 26-21.
I like it.
Okay. I'm going to go 27-21 Giants. I'm going to go 1 point extra.
You had to go 1 point high. What is this? The Price is Right?
That was the number I had in my head. You wanted to go first. If you let me go first, then I would have said it.
All right.
And besides, I think that's
All
what I said. I either wrote that or I said that in one of my shows.
Did you? Okay. I didn't listen, I swear. So,
well, you gotta come prepared, Chris. I mean, this is not good.
Giants fans, prepare yourself for a heart attack in this game, because this one is going to be like San Francisco. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. The Giants win this game 21-20 because Ron Rivera goes for 2 at the end of the game and does not get it.
Wait, haven't we heard this script before?
Yes.
it happened again. It happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He's
But
going to
you're
go for 2 because he's on the road. You don't play for a tie on the road, and they're not going to convert, and we win 21-20.
I'll take it.
And I
get.
am going to age 10 years in this game, which if I really could age 10 years, I could retire, which would be awesome. But I really don't want to. I don't want to move my life at 10 years. But this is going right down to the wire. I hope both of you are right. I would love the Giants to just win convincingly, but I mean,
it's 5 points. Is that convincing?
I can
For us,
see
that's
Washington
convincing.
having a 2-minute drive and tying the damn game up with 20 seconds and going for 2, and my heart just being here until they don't convert that 2-point conversion, then I can breathe.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
I think because the Giants, they have the extra time, they're getting some help back. I just think
you're
they're
right.
I just think it's going to,
that's happening.
I think initially, I think yesterday on the crossover show, I had it a little closer, but having thought about it and, started writing my article, why they will win, why they won't, and a prediction, I think it's going to not be as close as I initially thought it would be. So I hope so at any rate.
I hope my scenario is not
the worst,
except for we win.
If your scenario is right, I'm gonna bop you one, because you know what a pain in the neck that means. I'm gonna have to, when I'm writing the post game or throughout the game, I'm gonna have to keep changing the lead. And there's nothing worse than having to change the lead when oh gosh, the game's gonna end in like 30 seconds. And I've got to quick fix the lead and file when the clock reads 0.
You were thinking about that against Jacksonville, I'm sure.
We all know Badlow's going to be right. This is going to come down in the last seconds because that's what the Giants do, but we're going to win.
Listen, I've been close to my predictions this year. I said we would lose, 27-17? Giants are going to score a meaningless touchdown at the end of the game, make that closer than it was. It kind of happened. I foresee that happening. I don't want it to happen.
I hope you're
I really
wrong,
hope the
dog.
Giants win by 2 touchdowns.
Even I'm
And
not saying that. I said 5
no,
points.
I'm hoping they do.
That
Chris.
feels
I
like
hope
2 touchdowns for us.
I would
But
love it. 10 points, just 2 possessions. Can we get up by 2 possessions in a game?
we have
Oh,
Houston. We were up by 2 possessions.
But
right.
you got to hold it.
Yeah, we haven't held it.
Right.
That's the thing.
Let's
They'll
just-
get there. They'll get there. Baby steps.
I'm nervous.
I'm Patty.
I
Nice
might
to
throw
meet
up.
you.
I might throw up before the game.
Oh, you mean you'll do like what I almost did?
I
that
did
time.
throw up before week 1, I think, and it was just because I ate way
You
too much.
get that into it?
No.
Oh.
I ate way too much.
Have
I
you
threw
watched
up-
our
I threw
streams?
up the night before, and I was exhausted. I told Chris, I'm like, I got sick. I like, but if the Giants win, I'm not throwing up before. every game.
I've broken beer bottles on stream before.
Right. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I should really, you know what? I should tune into your stream. I should put my
This
headphones
week,
on.
tune in.
That was
and
when we
tune in.
lost. In
Here's
that
what you
damn
do
field
this
goal.
week if you want. It's gonna be on my channel.
Okay.
Watch the game like you normally do. Well, it's at home, isn't it?
It's at home, so I'm going to be.
You're gonna be there. So the next road game, tune in. Turn the volume off on your TV. Watch the game how you normally do, but listen to us do the play-by-play.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at the game, we're about 5 seconds ahead of.
Yeah,
what
you won't
guys
even.
can see.
Yeah.
So it
TV,
won't
you
make
can pause the
sense.
TV. You could pause the TV and sync it up
Yeah.
with us.
Okay. All right, I can do that. I also get the live, the live feed from the game too. So a lot of times when I'm watching it on the TV, I already know what's happened before the play shows up on the TV. But
Right.
Oh.
no, I
you
mean,
get the
I
reaction.
don't
Though.
need to.
You get the
Huh?
reaction.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be funny. I'll probably laugh myself silly, but
Yeah, we come up with some good ones.
you're still doing the glasses though, right? The sunglasses.
I didn't do the glasses last. I didn't think they were going to help.
Oh,
I didn't think they were going to help against Dallas. I was like, I'm putting.
Chris has his ready.
Yeah, mine are in my car, but I was like, yeah, I'm like,
Oh, so you're the reason why they lost because you didn't do the glasses.
No, we were going to lose that one.
I think we lost because we weren't as good, but
Yeah,
we
that
could
was
blame
a
it on
tough
Bad
one.
Dog though.
Well,
All
we
right.
didn't, you know why we didn't put them on initially? We didn't want any adjustments. We were winning 13.
We were winning. We were up there. We didn't need adjustments.
We
at the
didn't
half.
want to. We didn't want to change. It didn't work against Detroit. We did try against Detroit. It didn't work, but we were up 13-7. I'm like, I don't want to change anything. I like the way that first half went. It just the second half didn't go as good.
True
Let's
confession
win this
times,
week.
people. Now you guys know the real reason. You can blame it on Dog and Tainah.
Oh, yeah,
By the way, Bad Dog, I'm gonna back it up. I don't know why I scheduled for 9:55. I'm gonna make it 10, just so you know.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm
So,
gonna change
all
it.
right.
I'm gonna change it right now.
You have
We're
time to
gonna-
get a cup of coffee.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say
why
goodbye
I'm
anyway,
changing it. I
'cause-
want to get a cup of coffee.
We're gonna say. See, I tried to get away with not doing the score
Well, we
predictions,
like
but
talking to
it's-
you,
it's
Patty. We
okay.
like talking.
And I like talking to you guys too, but I also know that you guys got another show to do, so I don't want to be too greedy. But thank you guys for coming on. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week on the LockedOn Giants podcast. David Turner should be with me. We should be able to break that game down, and then we'll do this again next week, I guess. Right, guys?
Yeah, we'll be here.
All right.
And the Giants are gonna hopefully win this week. We'll have something nice
Yes.
to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'll have Philly to talk about.
Oh God, you don't want to miss that one. I'll be on a
No.
roll. I can
I
tell you
already
right
got
now.
it. I already marked it
You
in
think
my
I was
calendar.
trash talking
Philly.
down? You
Yes.
ain't nothing yet.
Dog's gonna be on his game.
I'm gonna be off the
folks.
leash.
All
That's what's
right,
gonna happen
everybody.
when we play Philly.
We'll see you next week, Patty.
Yes, we will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, be good, guys.